All right, welcome everybody to the Decathlon. This is the fifth of these events. If you've never seen this before, this is going to blow your mind. This is some real next level stuff as far as speedrun competition format. We have 10 games, and today we have 14 players who are going to play them, but players have been competing for the last 4 or 5 months, is it? To try to get
5 months, yeah.
5 months, yeah. A lot of effort's gone into this to try to qualify just to get here today or to get to the next round of this tomorrow. The idea is that you're supposed to, each of these players learns 10 games, tries to put up the best times they can in those 10 games in order to score points to qualify to play today. And these games span the gamut. You can see, we don't see the names on screen here, but we got Super Monkey Ball 2, we got Mario Kart Double Dash, we have Hammerwatch, Rayman Legends, Steam World Dig, Volgar, Super Metroid Project Base, Quake, Cloud Build, and I Want to Be the Cat. So we have some well-known games, some not very well-known games, and these guys have had to learn all of them and have been competing for 5 months to get the best times they can. And now we're going to see who can get the best times they can today. It is going to be quite a free-for-all. I'm Fiesel, and I am joined by my co-host, Mythical9. How you doing, Myth?
I am doing fantastic. I'm so excited. Like you said, these games are all over the place. What speedrun tournament features the likes of Quake, Mario Kart, a fan game, a ROM hack? Like this is incredible. I love it. And all of these are incredible speed games as well.
That's right. And what we're going to see today is of these 14 players who have qualified to play here today, 4 of them are going to advance to the next round tomorrow. And what they're going to do is they're going to compete in heats, 1 game at a time, each player trying to get the best time they can at that. And their score will be determined by the time they get. And at the end of the day, we total up the scores for all the players, and the top 4 players are going to be advancing. So we'll be keeping track of the leaderboard as time goes on. If you look at that link that we've got in the chat there, there should be able to find your way over to the leaderboard for today. I think you need to click on the tournaments tab at the top, and then down at the leaderboard button at the bottom, and it should show you exactly how everyone is ranked today. But that's what you're seeing on the screen right there, the names of the players and our first 4 games that we're going to do.
Yeah, the very bottom of the screen, you can see there's time for points. They use a really interesting format. Basically, if you finish the goal for any given game, you score 100 points, and you will score additional points for completing it faster. At around the 200 point mark is where you kind of need to be taking the record, the world record, in order to score above 200. So very rare, but some players have done it in this tournament. Not that we're going to see it, in the one race today.
We might.
Who knows? And then you can see there's sort of a sliding scale, 1 point for every 6 seconds that you save on the record.
Right, yeah, so they set up a linear scale here, and it's computed. It's going to be different for each game, so check out this little infographic for each game before we start it, and that will sort of give you a sense for how we're determining the scaling of this. Wow, so this is an event. This is the 5th time this has been done. The Ultimate Decathlon guys have been doing this for quite a while now, and as you can see, they've got some great production quality, and we are very, very fortunate to have the English restream of this done here on Speed Gaming. This is a French organization, and right now on the Ultimate Decathlon Twitch channel, you would be able to hear French commentary. If that's more your thing, maybe hop over there. But we are going to do our best to keep you guys informed about what's going on. So we see, let's see. I actually don't know what the bars are on the left. What are they measuring?
Those are the number of points that this player has scored in each game. So you can see that Psych House here is quite strong in something like Monkey Ball and Hammerwatch and I Want to Be the Cat. And not so good in Volgar and Super Metroid Project Base. And then you've also got their Twitch avatar in the corner. So I like it. You get a feel for this player just from this one little card here.
It's pretty handy. Yeah, and that's something we're going to have to keep track of, because remember that some players are going to be better at some games than others. And we got to pay attention to what games are coming up and what have already been done, and see where people's strengths and weaknesses lie. Because nobody's going to be good at everything.
Little Mai here has a Punch-Out avatar. Unfortunately, not one of our 10 games. Pushing the record on I Want to Be the Cat, though. That is impressive. Solid times for each game. Fairly well-rounded. See this correlation here. The last, second to last two, Quake and Cloud Built. Lowest scores there for those two games. They're very similar in the way that you move way too fast through a 3D environment, and preservation of momentum is key. So you'll probably see some players who excel at that kind of thing, and some players who struggle a bit. So the game list is set up to test all kinds of different abilities, your ability to play all kinds of different games, and I love it, honestly.
Well, we have Slinks up here next, who is off the charts in Hammerwatch.
Yeah, so you get the arrow at the top, and that means you broke 200 points. And then if you get the double arrow, it means you set the world record, I'm pretty sure. So the record was about 30 minutes for Hammerwatch, and the players through this tournament have obliterated it and knocked it down to about 25 or so. So one of those players, those Latsudi here.
Yep, that's why we're seeing 218 points for Hammerwatch, 200 being the world record at the time that this rating system started. So this is already quite a bit above that.
But then, as you can see, has not finished the Quake, Cloud Built, or Super Metroid goals within the maximum time. So you still score points based off of how much you complete of the goal, and honestly, pretty close to finishing some of those goals. But those are going to be the three weakest games for Slinks for sure. Similar pattern, though. We're seeing that kind of emerge along all our players.
Mordred CX here, again strong in these games in the first half, and actually a bit more of a Quake skill than we've seen in the previous players here. The order that we see these on the screen are not going to be the order they do these, though. So we will be jumping around a bit here. Our first set of games are going to be Hammerwatch, Rayman Legends, Quake, and I Want to Be the Cat. I believe we're going to do them in that order. So it looks like maybe some of these later in the series games that people aren't doing so well at are going to come out early. Maybe that's a good thing. I would probably rather have my more difficult games, or the games that I'm not as good at, happen first, and my more confident games at the end.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty negative. So if I had those hanging over my head, I think I would have no chance at doing well in those games if they were coming up next.
It's just I got obliterated in the first 3 games. I'm quitting.
Yep.
Yeah. Le Shemut up here. Again, looks like Steam World Dig being the best game for Le Shemut. Is it Le Shemouet? I don't know. You're the
Shemot is what it's an O.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's not an U, it's not an O. It's somewhere in between. That we Canadians are very good. I think it's a very similar sound that we make when people say we say about. We're going about.
Okay. It's a good way to remember it.
Kind of sound. So Le Chamot, very well. One of the top players that we'll be seeing today. There is another top 10 who are competing tomorrow, and they'll be joined by 4 of the people who qualify, the top 4 who qualify today. And look out for La Chamot because they're a good candidate to make it to tomorrow.
That's right, and with only 4 people advancing out of 14 here today, I mean, that's a pretty high attrition rate here. We're going to be losing a lot of people today. And then tomorrow, 4 people from today, 10 more people who did so well in the qualification stages before today that they get to bypass Saturday and go straight to Sunday. So this was set up so that the better that you did during the pre-season or the pre-tournament qualification, the less that you actually had to play in the tournament itself. And then the winners from tomorrow will move on to the finals, or the qualifiers from tomorrow will move on to the finals, happening December 2nd, I believe.
That sounds right. I do want to get the proper time. The December one that's the in-person live 4-person event flown out to compete and have fun event, right?
Believe so.
That sounds so cool. So there is the organizers for this were like, well, it's just for fun. There's no like cash prize. But we are going to fly out the top 4 to compete in person and rent out a theater. And I was like, what? That's incredible. That's a great prize.
Yeah, exactly.
I would be thrilled.
I would be too, unless I already lived in the place where I was being flown to.
Yeah, well, likely these guys are around the France area, but who knows?
I'm sure they are. All right. Well, we're just waiting for them to get started on the first game. First game is going to be Hammerwatch.
Yeah, we saw a clip of it just then. Snippets of pretty much almost the entire playthrough of the game. We saw the 4 boss fights that the players are going to have to go through. Players are going to be playing as the knight because the knight has this dash attack, and turns out dashing around and going fast is a good way to speedrun this game.
Yeah, go figure. Dashing in a speedrun.
It's a cool game. Came out in 2013, developed by a studio called Crackshell. I think it might be their only game to date. Probably at least their first game. First, maybe major release. But to ease the burden on the players a little bit, because it is a tough game. Things go really wrong really fast. You saw how many enemies are on screen at any given time. So the infinite life mod is allowed. They're not going to have to worry about any sorts of game overs. They would be gigantic setbacks, especially if they happened late. So yeah, infinite life mod allowed, and death warps are a thing as well. So they're free to do that at their leisure now.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. I like that philosophy of just giving the players what they need to keep going and not letting anyone get sort of brick-walled and, sent all the way back. I mean, it's enough of a penalty being, dying when you don't intend to. But here we go. Here we have the countdown. Players are all starting.
So our top 4 players are Le Chamot, Mordred, Slinks, Little Mile. And then after that, the next 4 are Psychaus, Steffler, Draconis, and Naruto QB. So what we're really interested actually is 3, 4, 5, and 6. Because top 4 is what we're concerned about today. They advance. So we're going to be looking at the battle for those third and fourth spots. Yeah,
battle for the bubble. Sure. Yep, and that's we're going to be paying attention to that. But remember that there are players who are not shown on screen who are going to have really good games later in the series here. So we really do have to keep our eye on everyone, not just the people who appear to be right on the bubble, because that's going to change a lot.
I think it's just a little bit covered by some of the timers, but they do have. Oh no, there it is. Yeah, it's fine. Mana bars. Now that the timer has moved, you can get a look at the mana. That's what determines how much you can dash. It refills pretty slowly, so you can't just dash like crazy, and you're gonna want to save it for when enemies get in your way and you can't get past them. So you can see the players will try to walk through. If that doesn't work, they'll try to slash, and then if they get overwhelmed, then they'll dash.
Right,
Mordred already completely out of mana, actually.
Right. Yeah, you have to be careful. And I understand, the idea of mana conservation being very important. I mean, that's where the routing comes from, deciding when you're going to do your dashes and your slashes. Every time you slash, you slow down, so you have to minimize that. So a bit of a trade-off here. Not really sure how random the enemy movements are.
But they seem to just home right in on you.
Yeah, it seems like they're pretty manipulatable.
You're just a little bit faster than them, thank goodness. So if you wanted to, you could play really safe and like corral them back and forth, group them all up, and then skirt around all of them.
I don't know how much safety we're going to see today. Maybe from... I don't know, because I would figure if I was pretty far behind in this game, I might try to take some risks, because obviously coming in last is not good for you points-wise, but if you're worried you're going to come in last anyway, what do you have to lose? But here we have Slinks making short work here. Appears to be, I would say, a good 15 seconds, 10 seconds ahead of the next player of the ones we see on screen.
Slinks is the record holder of this game. One of the players who really pushed the time down, came out on top. So not surprised to see him have such a surprising lead this early on, just through, I would guess, more than anything, just movement. Like, you can see how much control you have over your characters. All right, I think I'm back. The Discord we're using has a... It doesn't matter. But I should be back. Visa should be back shortly, as soon as he notices. I could pull him in, but I don't want to catch him
There we go.
mid-sentence. Yep. It turns out we can do the thing. All right, so we're back. We're back.
Set.
And the players have not stopped. Someone call the race. We're seeing a death warp here from Lashimot. The way see, there's those 3 symbols on the ground in the top left corner of the screen. You can see, and those open the way to the boss. So the structure for all of these different acts of the game is to hit 3 symbols on the ground, located, spread out all over, then return to the doorway that opens and go through and fight the boss. So it turns out that it's a heck of a lot faster to hit those symbols and then just die and death warp back to the kind of hub area of the floor. And you can see at the top of the screen, the Ankh symbol is the lives they have. And with the infinite lives mod, just says inf.
Floor 5 for Slinks.
Yeah, I think you need to backtrack in some cases to get to certain floors. The routing is, I think before we got cut off, I was talking about gold, because some players were picking up all the gold after the boss fight. And there's a lot of very useful upgrades. You probably would have a lot of trouble even beating the game if you didn't get some of the damage upgrades. And there's also things like improving your dash range as well that can help out quite a bit. And of course, move speed. If you're going to speedrun, going faster seems like a good way to get a better time.
Right, and of course you have to weigh in the time that it takes to buy things too. But I would think improving your move speed or your dash ability would be well worth.
Yeah, the move speed increases is pretty significant. And it's also important just for survival. You need to be able to stay ahead of these hordes of enemies. Otherwise, you're going to just be bleeding damage the whole time. So move speed, not only improving your time, but also giving you more survivability. Here's the second boss. I can't figure out why he doesn't hit the other players, but he doesn't. You just mash him down, getting caught by a random placement of a bomb there, but it's not enough to take out Slinks, and he's going to come out on top.
Right, and I like how he wrapped around to the back of the skeleton and attacked him from there, so all the hordes of enemies that were coming after him weren't going to get in his way.
Yeah.
Very smart. You do have to manage a lot of enemies on screen at once. Fortunately, it doesn't look like it gets that laggy when there's more stuff on the screen, but I don't know. There's probably some limits.
Maybe, I don't know. It's a newer game, a PC game with sprite graphics, so we're used to the poor SNES having to manage all those sprites. But
I like to assume that the system can't handle when too much is going on the screen.
That's the kind of consoles we're used to working with. A death from Mordred there. Look what this boss does if you let him live. Just tore him apart. My goodness.
It turns into a Toho game.
Yeah. More deaths from this night. I wonder if like a player's ability to mash really makes a difference here, because it's the difference between that little sliver of health everyone had left.
I don't know what the cooldown is. It sort of looks like there's a cooldown on the slash, so maybe it's not how fast you mash, but maybe you're just trying to get a certain rhythm.
Oh yeah, it could be a rhythm thing, and it's probably controls with a keyboard, though I guess players could probably use a controller as well.
I don't know. We actually didn't ask about that. What players are using for these? If they're just like auto hotkeying, or key binding something. What is it? Joy to keying some.
Oh, it's auto fire.
It's auto fire. Oh, okay. There you go.
It makes sense. I was like, they're attacking quite fast.
That's pretty fast, right?
with a really regular sort of rhythm.
Well, I was imagining like 10 different keys bound to the same function.
Just running your hand across the keyboard.
Yeah. That's how you do it if you can.
Like those Marvel fighting games where you do more damage, mash the buttons during the suit.
Right. Or that track and field game where you have to like bend your fingers across the button. So
Lashimot wasn't sure if went the wrong way a little bit and forgot this key, or if was just carefully corralling the enemy such that he can now just walk right around the whole pack.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of manipulation, especially at this stage. We're seeing a lot of enemy manipulation, just little ducks to the side just to get everybody lined up a certain way, and then dashing past that horde of enemies that you just created.
You can see some of these mana crystals lying around. Those will refill your health. Leshmog hit some poison bubbles, so it not only taking damage, but also moving slower for a little bit. That sucks. But the mana crystals are, I mean, the further you go, they seem to be a little more common. And knowing where those are and routing in when to use your dashes so that you get the most out of those refills, big part of the speedrun.
What kind of time do we expect top finishers to have here?
Well, the top finisher is probably going to be around 26, 27 minutes in Slinks, but this is one of those games where I think we're not going to see a really close group of people all finishing at once. I think Slinks is kind of not, I wouldn't say head and shoulders above, but at least head above the competition. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw closer to 30 for some of the next few competitors.
All right, and I believe we'll be going 40 minutes with this game in total. And I guess if you get cut off before the end, you just don't get any points for it. I mean, what's the
you get points based off of your progress? So defeating the queen earns you 25, and then you get 6 for each floor after that, which means the knight is 50. The lich, spoilers, who is the third boss, is 75. So there's a linear scale depending on your progression through the game. So I guess if you weren't going to finish, it might be worth it to like beeline to one of the next floors to hit that checkpoint and get the points for that.
Wonder if we'll see anybody go for that strategy, or as the timer kind of gets down to the very end, down to the cutoff, if we see people's strategy change.
Yeah, it could be. They totally expected to not have too much trouble with this game, and they're like, I'll finish. It's just a matter of how many points they get, and then things go wrong, and then they need to adjust their strategies mid-race.
Slinks featured on stream again here.
Has made it into this this treasure room. You need an invulnerability potion to reliably get in here. You'll see why. And yeah, there's the spike shooting. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different place. But look at all the mana crystals dash right through him. Still has full mana. Yeah, there's tons of secrets in this game, including some really nasty ones where like you just slash a pretty innocuous location on the wall and it just opens up a room. I don't think the players are going to be going into any of those kinds of secrets, but there are lots of little shortcuts and secrets and things that players will go, both to get around the map faster, but also to get that gold they need for some of those upgrades.
Trying to get a sense of how far ahead he is at the moment, and man, it's a lot. After only 13 minutes, I'd say he's 30 seconds ahead of the next player.
At least.
It's got to be more than that. Wow, that really shows you how... Was that a death or did he warp? What was that?
This is a warp. Those four things, he lights up that symbol.
For a second.
Yeah. You're going to see a lot of death warps with one of those red symbols on screen somewhere. We're seeing Mordred just now getting to that treasure room we saw when we first started focusing on links. So that's got to be a solid minute, maybe minute and a half ahead of Mordred, yeah.
And the and how well he does compared to the other players. Well, just how well you do in general. I guess your points are not necessarily based on what everyone else is doing, but they are based on the scale of time that was determined at the outset of this. So every second matters, or every 6 seconds is going to net Slinks an extra point.
And it's also important, like if you were to just beat everyone and get first place, and that's different than beating everyone by 5 minutes and getting an extra, however many points. So even if you're clearly ahead of everyone else, you still are concerned about going as fast as you possibly can.
Exactly,
to get
and that's
many points as you can.
Right. A big difference between the way we normally see speedrun races and speedrun competitions happen. It's normally in a race, there's a bit of strategy. All you have to do is beat your opponent. You only need to beat your opponent by 1 second. That's all that matters. So if you start to get pretty far ahead, start to take safeties, take things a little bit slower, use up that cushion to increase your success rate. But Right here, everyone is competing against the clock. That's it. So you are always on your best behavior in speedrun terms.
Lots more gold. Also picking up that vendor coin. Those give you discounts at the shopkeepers, but you might have caught it. It flashed by very quickly, but it's like a 0.5% discount for every vendor coin you have. So it's a very minor thing. The players are not really going to pick up the coin. They're more concerned about getting the gold around it. Mordred about to hit that symbol. Activated, and same for Lashima. Different symbol, I think, but progress being made here. The players have been kind of... they haven't been like too far behind in terms of the power curve the game expects you to be. But by this point, I'm pretty sure that they are starting to fall significantly behind that power curve. You can see all the gold that they're not picking up, that the game expects you to be spending on upgrades and things. So the Lich fight, I mean, we saw how fast they died to the Knight. The Lich will shoot out some magic projectiles that do 50 plus damage if you get hit by them. So they've only got 75 health.
Slink's doing a good job of avoiding taking damage here. He's got through that whole pack without taking any.
He's doing a good job of pretty much everything.
Yeah, yeah, that is true.
It's so cool the way they just seem to effortlessly glide through all the enemies.
Yeah, I have to keep convincing myself that there's not some kind of invincibility potion going on.
Yeah, I mean, those do exist.
Yeah,
we're using damage potion here instead of invulnerability. Oh, we're seeing both, actually.
Yeah, it's
I think
both.
this is a safety strat.
Yeah. I believe I saw him just get invincibility.
Not going to need the invincibility potion, maybe.
Look at the damage that thing does. Ow.
Yeah. All right, so opting to keep the potion, perhaps to use it. There's spikes and stuff later on where you want that invincibility potion to cross. And perhaps getting it now just as a routing optimization rather than for the boss fight. I'm not sure if you can stack potion effects. Given the way you glow a color the way they are, I wouldn't be surprised if you can't. Yeah, so we saw the spikes there. I think they might be one-hit kills because he invincibility potioned across to pick up that gold key. This game is called Hammerwatch, and it came out on Steam in 2013. It was one of the first few Steam Greenlight games. So if you think it looks cool, you know where to find it. Look at how fast some of the enemies are on the fourth set of floors here.
Yeah, those skeleton knight things that are following them are just the same speed as him, and now they're really fast.
Yeah, I don't know what causes the enrage mechanic sometimes. I don't know if there's a nearby enemy who's like a war leader or something,
right.
But that does happen, and it is very scary.
Taking a death warp. Was that just to refill his health, or was he trying to group the enemies?
I think it was a refill. Anytime you hit a checkpoint, there are some checkpoints that aren't necessarily because you just crossed to a new floor. Because the fourth floors are so scary, very often you'll see players hit a checkpoint and then die. Refill both the health and, like, here we go. Immediately hits the 11th floor, die. Health and mana refill. Both very important. How does he avoid the projectiles and the enemies at the same time while barely veering off the racing line, as it were? Lich fight here for Mordred. Gets through it.
Those are the only... Wait, 3 people have been through that Lich fight so far that we've seen?
No, I think...
Oh, no, just 2.
I think that was our second. Yeah.
Lashwet is not quite there yet.
Pretty sure these panels open on a set pattern. You would have to be pretty good to react to them opening.
I think I got really lucky there. It's like he knew where they were going to be.
You'll see these shock towers occasionally that seem incredibly unfair because it looks like it's just a ring that expands and you're just going to get hit. But once it gets far enough away, you can slip in between. Lich fight there for Little Mai.
I get the impression that the hitbox on your character is pretty small.
It definitely is, yeah. I mean, the sprite is small, but the hitbox, I think, is actually even smaller. Probably just the feet, I would guess. Maybe the shadow.
Intentional death on the spikes. Another Lich fight. Pray for forgiveness. So releasing these projectiles seems to be on a fixed timer. So I guess you know when to expect them.
Yep. I thought the clone that he summons was also like a health related thing. But I'm seeing 4 clones here, and it was earlier than I would have expected. So maybe it's a time thing, and if you're not fast enough, you can get overwhelmed by those clones. But
we didn't see that happen on everyone's fights.
Invincibility potion being used mostly to cross spikes, but it certainly does help to get through all of these projectiles shooting enemies.
Yeah, and you don't have to waste the time grouping them, doing a little dance to group them straight through. Yeah, that seems to really be the strategy. The big thing is cutting corners, and if you watch Slinks especially, you'll see he's always just cutting the corner as tight as he can, always aiming for the next next thing in the rubber band line from point A to point B. But you also see these just little sidestep, just brief little sidesteps, taking the least amount of time he needs just to line the enemies up so we can get around him. I didn't see what he bought there. What was at the top of that list?
He bought a invincibility potion as well as a quick rejuvenating potion just to refill his health and mana. The purple potion you can see on his UI is invincibility, and the orange one is the damage one that they get for bosses. The money is pretty tight in this route. I would suppose that there's probably some safety options available to the players, if they're willing to take the time to detour to a treasure room and then maybe buy an extra invincibility potion or to get through some tough areas perhaps. But the way Slinks is playing, that invincibility potion almost surely saved for crossing some spikes.
Yes, I'm sure he has it planned out exactly where he's going to use these, but I wonder kind of backup strats these players have, if any. I mean, you do have infinite lives. You can always just, die and start again, but surely there must be some safety.
Yeah, you don't have infinite potions, right? And
right.
The people who sell them are only in set locations. You don't always have access to that. So I could see a situation where a player is without a potion they really expected to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's your backup? Just go collect more gold and buy it again?
Could be. I don't have intimate knowledge of the layouts of these various floors, but I wouldn't be surprised if the shortcuts across the spikes save like lengthy detours. So, all right, we're moving on.
Yo, it's got to be something good. There's so much gold.
A room with a horde of gold. What could possibly? It's a big dragon. Look out!
Of course.
This fight is pretty crazy. Actually, you'll see pretty soon the meteors come and things get really hard just to see what's going on. You're seeing these flashes of blue in front of Slinks. Those are enemies being spawned that need to be dealt with. And you've got these 4 cores that are vulnerable. One at a time. Destroy the core. Dragon's now vulnerable. Head up and give him the business. You take a quarter of his life and then repeat. Being very careful to dodge the... I don't know if it's like a blood spray attack or something, but having to react to the meteor, you get that flashing circle that lets you know you need to leave. And there's really not a lot of visual cue for when the dragon's going to do the blood spray attack. So knowledge of when that attack is going to come out is very important. doing his best to just barely get out of the meteor circle while not giving up this relentless damage.
Yeah, 41 health. That's not great. But he seems to be pretty darn good at dodging these things. And I'm not really seeing these like meteorite things land up at the top near where he's standing to hit that dragon. So
yeah, it is possible, but
oh yeah, there's a couple, but most of them
are lower. Some of these enemy spawns. One of them thankfully just leaves. Oh, it's going around back. It knows. Oh, and then the spawn. Wow, they're working together really well, these enemies. Dash through the blood spray. Very bold move there. We can see no one else is even in this dragon fight yet. That's just the links that Slinks is the lead that Slinks has built up for himself. Does get caught by the blood spray there. Quick refill.
I like that your progress at the boss fight is saved, so you're never going to be stuck just fighting the same thing over and over and over again. One more core left.
I think the meteors get a little more common as the dragon gets lower and lower on health.
It does sure seem like there's a lot more of them.
You get these red bats as well, so using the arc of the sword to still be hitting this dragon while defending himself from the red bats.
That's quite a hitbox. He definitely knows where he can stand and still hit that thing, because it sure looks like he's not even connecting. There we go, dragon slain.
And that's it. So that was like I'm not sure exactly when timing ends, but I'm going to guess that was like a 26:45 for Lynx, which is just under that 27-minute mark that I said we might end up at. So to remind people, getting under 27:44 is the cutoff for 200 points. So I think that Slinks was just under that.
Well, we'll know.
Wait, no, 27. Never mind. Definitely over 200 points for Slinks just there. Incredible performance.
Yes, that's going to be great. Really good for him. Good to have a game that you're strong at be the first game. Even though I said I like to get the ones that I would suck at out of the way first. I mean, it is definitely a big ego boost to really nail that first game. So we have Mordred fighting the dragon right now. Just on his first core, it looks like. Taking a death. We also have Little Mai fighting the dragon. I believe these are the second and third people to have reached this dragon here. I think just since this is the first game, we're just showing the people who are the best at it.
We've got LF now in the bottom left corner of the screen, streaming at, I think, a higher frame rate than anyone else. Look at it. Buttery smooth.
It does look that way, yes.
But perhaps we should be looking at our dragon fights on the right side of the screen. Mordred's got a lead on Little Mai, but it's very easy to die in this fight, and there it is again, a death from Mordred, and as well as Little Mai. So this can swing if you can get a big sequence of hits without a death and chain them together. Then you can start to make up a lot of time in this dragon fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big time loss. Every time you've got to walk back from the start of that room, that's the amount of time you could have done a whole cycle of dragon fight, or either killing one of the cores or doing a cycle of hits on the dragon. That's a lot of time to lose.
Partial points for unfinished. The cutoff point for Hammerwatch is 37 minutes 44 seconds, and up to that point you will score points depending on how far you got in the game. I incorrectly stated it was what floor you reached, but it's which symbol you've hit. So you get 6 points for every symbol that you hit, and then another 7 for defeating a boss. So if you've defeated the knight and you hit symbols 7 and 8, you're going to earn 62 points. If you were to get all the way down to the second to last symbol, you would get 87 points. And there's a lot of games left to play. This is a decathlon. There are 10 games. This is just the first. So it's not like, Slinks has got it in the bag or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Right, and this is his strongest game. Well, I would assume his strongest game. So I think that we're going to see a lot of people making their way up, at least in striking distance of Slinks. Just the first game. Too early to call anything, really.
Wow, little Mai dashing through the fire breath down to 4 health. But, I mean, as long as you're not dead, you're there dealing damage to the dragon. Was not able to avoid the meteor, though. Look at the health bars on Mordred and Little Mai. These guys are so close right now. And Mordred was definitely the first to get here, so it's been a better dragon fight for Mai so far. Oh, and Mordred needs to hit the dragon like 2 more times or something. Yeah, 4 more times to trigger the next phase of the fight. That sucks.
These last 2 on the final phase looks like, I think Little Mai just finished that 4th core, didn't he? He went off the screen so fast. So he may be at the end right here.
Yep. And we saw how well this phase went for Slinks, as long as those meteors don't get in your way. But
Mordred had that last core down, then took a death. But he's about to finish this off as well.
Dragon's already down for Little Mai.
Yeah, just finished him. Another death from Mordred. This last phase is really giving him some problems.
Yeah, remember, even though Mai finished ahead of him, it's not like it kind of doesn't matter how the rest of this fight goes for Mordred, because he's still competing for as many points as possible. So every second that he loses here is points that he could have had. And it's a double KO, but I think that's going to go. Tie goes to the runner. Mordred's going to finish. It is a little unclear just how many points that the players have earned, but don't worry. After the 37 minutes and 44 seconds or whatever it is has passed, the runners submit their runs so far, and they get tabulated, and we'll have a nice score screen to put up, and we'll see how everyone did. And yeah, chat has already answered it. But for the sake of completeness, today everyone is competing for a top 4 position, enters them into tomorrow's competition, where the top 10 are already waiting to be joined by today's top 4. So today is like 11 through 24, sort of. And then the top 14 will duke it out tomorrow. Top 4 from that advance to a live event, a theater rented out of about 200 people, and they'll pay for travel as well. So that is where I guess the one champion will be crowned. But honestly, just getting there, I think would be a ton of fun. So I think getting to that top 4 is kind of like winning, basically. 4 is the magic number, which for today will advance to tomorrow. The Shamout still in this dragon fight, just about done with the last core. We've got testing my ability to pronounce our French names. I don't know if that's a silent C. Go ahead and come.
That sounded completely right. That sounded exactly right.
Thank you. I am Canadian. Fiesel is American, but I'm Canadian, so I should be able to do this at least a little bit.
Right. But I have leeway to mispronounce things.
Right, yeah. You can just, I don't know. I took Spanish. Shemot, another death here to the dragon. Look at this like projectile spitting enemies just going nuts in the middle of the room. Can't even get back to the dragon because things have gotten out of hand. I wonder if he'll opt to actually take care of these enemies or just try to navigate the battlefield. Does manage to get back to the dragon. Puik puik. So it is not a silent C. Of course it's Pui. It's OUI like we. I should have known. Pweek pweek.
Yeah, I mean, that's an onomatopoeic name. Week week. Sounds good.
I wonder if that's a sound effect for something like
Right. That's what I'm
different
trying to
cultures
picture.
have the same sound, like a rooster crowing in English is cock-a-doodle-doo, which is weird.
Yep.
By the way, there's no D sounds at all in what's going on there, but in other languages it's like kokoroko, or like, you know, so
Right.
maybe pweek pweek is the sound of a door creaking or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Right. We'll have to ask. Be a very important interview question.
Right. We got dragons down for Kapweek Pweek and
Almost at the end of our time period here.
Yeah, these are players just trying to get over that 100 point mark. Honestly, I don't think LF is going to have enough time to defeat the dragon in this time limit. But I think defeating him is 100 points. So I think probably 93 points for anyone who can't defeat the dragon in a minute 30 or so. But I don't know. Maybe with a fantastic fight they can pull it off. A death there from that fire breath is not going to help. But you can't play safe in this situation, right? You need to go as fast as possible. You can't be moving away to be safe and then come back to start delivering these hits, because you need to be attacking almost constantly if he wants to make this 37:44 cutoff time. So being forced to play hyper aggressive here. Does manage to dodge the fire breath that time. Oh, a single enemy just plinking away with little blue projectiles that were mostly hidden by the falling meteors. It would be nice if partial points were scored depending on how far you got in this fight, but I don't think that is the case. And with that death, pretty much assured that LF is not going to be able to finish off the dragon. Kragnir, I think, the name of the dragon. I think people have taken to calling him Smog, though, which I can appreciate. Again, this little enemy just hanging back and plinking away. And there it is. Time is up. So LF is not going to quite finish, not going to earn the full 100 points, but 93 is pretty good. So I think you'll start to see this this leaderboard get filled in as the times are tabulated and points are awarded.
Look at that, 206. 206 points for Slinks. That means he did better than what the world record was at the start of the season.
I think they even adjusted the number, actually. I think the record was 30 minutes, and now the cutoff for 200 points is around 27. So.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, fantastic performance. Up next.
Yep.
Take a look, guys. It's Rayman Legends.
Very cool game. I watched Spike Vegeta playing this game. A number of people playing this game lately. And we get some platforming. I usually think of platformers as being like the speedrun genre. Like if you're going to speedrun something, it's probably a platformer. So I kind of like that top-down adventure that we started with here. But I expect we're going to start to see maybe just a different skill set, different set of players excelling at this game than we did at Hammerwatch. Also, this is a game that was pretty well known. So yeah, we immediately see the contrast between games that you might not have heard of and games that you probably have. And we'll be all over the place back and forth throughout this whole thing between lesser and more well-known games.
We got some more times in.
Yeah.
And points, more importantly, I suppose.
Quite a big difference between first and second. As you had predicted,
Yeah,
being
Slinks is just
head
very, very
and maybe
good.
shoulders. above
I
the
would
rest.
give the shoulders for a 40+ point
Yeah.
difference. 47. My
Right.
goodness. What a beast. But a pretty nice spectrum below that between My Mordred, Psych House, who we didn't quite see on stream very often, Toru, Babast, all doing quite well so far in our first game. So up next is Rayman Legends, and there's a unique goal for this one, actually. It's to beat 20 levels, and if you're familiar with the game, it's non-linear. There's a series of portraits, kind of Mario 64 style, perhaps, but you collect teensies in the levels, and then more portraits / levels open up depending on how many teensies you have. And usually, if you're speedrunning the whole game, you would probably go through them in sequence just to avoid going into, travel between the portraits. But for this goal, you can beat any 20 levels you want. You just have to start with the first level. You have to finish on any of the boss fights. And all of the levels are unlocked, so you don't need to worry about collecting any teensies in the levels themselves.
So we're on New Game Plus mode, I guess, for this? Yes.
Yeah,
New
the
Game Plus.
game also doles out various upgrades. It's things like I played Origins, so I think there's things like you can run up the walls, or you can. I think the flutter is probably available by default, but there's a couple of different techniques that you earn throughout the game, and those are all going to be available to the players on New Game Plus mode. I was looking up some of the speed tech for this game because I remember there's a lot of almost speedrun focused levels in Rayman Origins, and Legends is very similar in gameplay. The key is it comes down to a lot of momentum preservation. There are techniques for building up a lot of speed, things like brake boosting and skid boosting, and the key becomes after both building up the speed but also maintaining it. You can do things like roll jumping, like you can come down from a jump into a roll, jump out of that to preserve the increased speed you get from one of these techniques. And it means it's really not a very simple game to speedrun. You're constantly chaining together some sort of either intended technique in the game or some kind of brake boost or skid boost that probably wasn't intentional to just glide effortlessly through these levels. And you can see there are a couple players who don't have a score. Unfortunately, not everyone was able to make it today to compete. And I know actually that all the players are quite sad about it, actually, because they've been competing in this for 4 or 5 months, and to devote yourself to this thing, get your times down, be a part of this event for so long, qualify for this event, and then not be able to be a part of it. It is a bit of a heartbreaker for some players.
Yes, definitely. And it looks like we have 8 of our next players lined up here. Just about ready to go. We have the count.
Oh, look at this countdown. So when this goal was first announced, beat any 20 levels you want, I bet it was a bit of a Wild West as players figured out which 20 levels would be the ones to do for this goal. But the players have been working on this unique category that was created for quite some time. So an optimal path has sort of been decided on. Maybe some players will opt for a different choice based off of safety or avoiding something that they struggle with, but very likely we are going to be seeing these players tackle the levels in a a very similar order. One of the things they're doing is a low kick that I think is it's like jump and attack at the same time or something, but it's a good way to start moving and or just do a short little hop while also throwing out an active hitbox. Ground pounds are a good way to descend quickly if necessary. You can also, ground pounds kind of put you up a little bit and then drop you down very quickly. So there are some cases where you can ground pound to actually reach a platform above you, even though it was mostly intended to be a downward moving technique. And you can do a skid boost out of a ground pound, which can be a way to not really turn your downward speed into horizontal speed, but to avoid going from a standstill, basically, out of a ground pound. Brake boosting and skid boosting is a little complicated, but the gist of it is that you initiate a dash attack and then let go of everything but the run button, and your character will actually skid at a kind of an increased speed that probably wasn't intended, and then you can go ahead and do things like roll jumps to maintain that increased speed. You can also see a couple different sprites here by the players. You got Rayman, Blue Rainman, and the Valkyrie Princess character is probably my favorite. Only cosmetic differences, except I think maybe Glowbox has bigger attack hitboxes, but I don't think that's going to be too big of a concern. If you see this little heart following any of the players, that's an extra hit. Sometimes they can be grabbed pretty much along the way. Sometimes players might go a little bit out of their way for the extra safety. We saw perhaps a damage boost there from Slinks making use of that heart. We'll see what Toru does. Gonna hold on to the heart. Nope, just missed the rope. And a death. Psychos as well into this section goes well for them. Loading screens, I believe, are not being counted in the final time.
Yes, I believe that's so. Yes.
So you can see all these teensies here at the end of the level already rescued. Normally those are just empty notches, and they fill in with all the teensies that you rescued throughout the level. But here on this New Game Plus mode, it's just about getting through the levels as fast as possible. If you're not very good at brake boosting or skid boosting, it can be pretty tough to get back up to speed if you lose your speed. And so players are going to be doing their best to maintain their momentum as much as possible. Got a pretty close sync on the right side of the screen. Psychos there getting hung up a little bit on that tree branch, so in sync no longer. Toru pulls a little bit ahead. And it looks like Slinks is in a level where the Grow Tiny ability is required. There's just sort of set parts of certain levels where the game will shrink you down. Another one of those abilities that is unlocked. Or maybe the camera's just pulled way out and that's not in this game. But no, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Everyone knows a tuba will return you to normal size. So top players for Rayman Legends competing today. Actually, I've forgotten which were the 4 unfortunate souls that aren't competing today, but nonetheless, I'll shout them out anyway. Steffler with the 190 points is our strongest competitor today, but there's a lot of people who are all in the same neighborhood. Draconis, Naruto, QB, Slinks as well, who is in the lead of our 4 players on stream. All in that mid 180 range, and there's a lot of players in the 170 as well. Lishamat, Mordred, Draconis, and LF, all in the 170 range, which is well over the par time, and honestly pretty close to world record times. Though I'm not sure how much of a record there was for this made-up category. But still, those 200-point times are not set lightly, so to be able to get up that high is very impressive.
Well, Slinks with a heck of a lead here. I would say at least 30 seconds over Mordred.
Yeah, he's playing very well. Making good use of the low kick in certain situations to get going quickly. Though, as I say it, he loses his momentum and has a hard time building it up again. I'm not sure what kind of checkpointing there is, though. If it's anything similar to Rayman Origins, they're not all that forgiving. So sure enough, yeah, that 30 seconds is gone.
Yep. And the thumbs up into the lava. Great.
Yep.
All right, Slink's first one done with that boss fight.
I was never a big fan of the Rayman games in when they were 3D platformers, but when Ubisoft created these 2D versions, I think they play great, and I earned an appreciation for the Rayman universe's sense of humor. That thumbs up lights on pretty good. We got a poll in chat, by the way. You've seen some of the players, their cards. You can look at the website and see what some of what their favorite games are, or their strongest games, perhaps. Maybe you're very good at a game you don't like playing much. Generally, I find there tends to be a correlation there. But yeah, go ahead and fill out the poll with who you want to see come out on top here today.
Well, looks like pretty close between Toru and Mordred right now. Both still significantly behind Slinks. But I feel like it's still a lot of game to go, so I think there's plenty of things that could happen. Do we know what the world record time is for this category?
I do. And
Of course
I will
you do.
relate
You do
to
all the
you.
research.
29:56 is well, that's the 200-point time.
Right.
Perhaps it's changed. No, 28:56 is the current world record. So 29:56, just 1 minute above that, is where you'll get your 200-point mark.
So we may see somebody above the 200-point mark, although, I mean, Slinks is in the lead and hasn't really had the perfect run so far. So, yeah, I don't know if we will necessarily see somebody go over 200 points, but we might.
Yeah, that 30-second time loss was pretty severe. I love the style of this game. It's just gorgeous. Toru successfully completing this. There are a lot of these levels that are, I mean, for lack of a better term, they're a runner, basically. Though it doesn't move automatically. If you were to stop moving, you will, fall behind, and this wall of fire that you can see will force you into a death. You do need to keep moving.
Swimming level, of course. I actually like swimming levels in platformers. I feel like it's just a completely different kind of optimization that you have to switch into. Maybe a little bit more like Hammerwatch for him. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, maybe. The swimming controls in this game are you have a lot of control, basically. You point the stick wherever you want to go, and your character will start swimming in that direction. There's a bit of like a turning time, but it's pretty quick, and you've also got this dash attack that you can use repeatedly to swim faster.
And just like that, he's done with it. Haven't been counting levels. Do you know how many levels he's beaten so far? It's got to be like 7 or 8.
Something like that. This level's pretty quick because you're intended to be kind of stealthy and avoid the spotlights in some of these areas. But it turns out if you're fast enough, you can just kind of go right through them in a lot of situations.
Right. Stealth in a speedrun. Sure.
Unique to Rayman Legends as opposed to Origins are these levels where you have this sort of helper character who it's kind of like someone playing with a Wii U gamepad, basically. That sort of asynchronous gameplay that Mario Wii U brought, where they can use this guy to manipulate parts of the level, like pull out that tube and stretch it across, and then you can get on it and then fall on it, and then they can move it, and now you're in a new place. So I'm not sure how the controls work for that on the PC version. I wonder if the mouse is involved or if it's just automated for these players. Yeah, I thought there was a progress indicator, but my poor PC monitor is not so big that I can easily make it out from here in the commentator's booth.
I had the same problem. It's like a blurry circle, but now I can see what they are now.
Same level order for all the players on stream so far.
They don't have to use the same level order, but from what we're told, pretty much there's an agreed upon order that seems to be optimal. So that's what you're going to see most players using.
Up to 14 minutes now. The cutoff for this game is 39:56, so just shy of 40 minutes. And you can see we're already 9 levels down for Slinks, so we're on pace for sure. I think all runners on stream here are on pace to finish.
Yeah, it seems about right. And Slinks probably will finish pretty close to that 200-point mark. Oh, a real fast swimming level here.
Yeah, this is probably tougher than it looks.
Mm-hmm.
It's the angle that you're swimming at is super important, and if you get off of the line that you're aiming for, it's really not easy to very quickly get back on that line without overcorrecting and dropping too close to get eaten by this hungry dragon.
I'm trying to figure out if the dragon is rubber banded or if you really can't outrun it. It seemed like it was just right on his tail the whole time.
I think there's probably a bit of rubber banding going on, yes. Definitely, like when the dragon leaves and then comes back, it's coming back at a threshold that you crossed for sure.
Yeah, that was pretty clear. But yeah, when these sections where he's being chased, a little tough to tell. And we just saw Slinks navigate a pretty tricky little maze there easily. It really made it look effortless.
Mordred took a couple deaths there. Again, checkpointing is not super forgiving in this game, so Mordred, I think, ate a pretty sizable time loss just there, but Slinks is through okay.
Yep, 10 levels down, the halfway point reached.
Oh, that's right. The scores, the 39 minute 56 is a in-game time. So our timer counting up is counting up in real time the way that timers tend to do. So 43 minutes is where we will cut off. Getting a look at some of the other environments in this game. Doing the wall runs. Whenever there's a sloped surface or a curved surface is where you can initiate one of those wall runs, which, depending on the surface, can eventually lead you to running on the ceiling in a really cool way. This is a level where you need to activate these lights to scare away these nasty enemies. And look at that. Almost like Sonic the Hedgehog, jumping off of the circle to sort of cut a corner on it.
And it looks like Mordred has finished this same swimming boss that the other players have, but he's only got 9 stages down. I don't know if that's just a misrepresentation on the counter or if he's using a different route. Everyone else hit 10 at that point.
Oh, yeah. I think that's probably the case. So maybe not ahead of our other players the way we thought. Slink's still flying here. He had that one setback in the I think it was a luchador chasing him. But ever since then, he's been playing very cleanly. Rayman Legends has found a fairly sizable community of not just speedrunners, but well, I guess it's a form of speedrunning. Basically, they have some ongoing challenges of like a tower that you climb endlessly, or a pit that you fall endlessly, or a sort of race level with randomly generated elements. And there's leaderboard integration for that stuff, and it's kept a lot of players interested and active in the game for a while. I think this game is a great pick for an event like this.
Yeah, it really is. It's a platformer with a lot of diversity to it, and it's got some movement tech. Just run to the right and jump, so really is a good choice, and just a great looking game in general. And I like this kind of category. I like this idea for being able to choose what levels you do, having an objective that's not just any percent. A lot of these games you see will be any percent, but this one I think is pretty interesting in the choice.
Yeah, and eventually, like everyone kind of collectively figures out what the route is. But there are some people for whom finding those routes and experimenting and researching is their favorite part of speedrunning. There's a lot of people in the community who that's all they do. They don't actually speedrun games, but they'll investigate different routes and things. And so having something like that involved in the event, I think is greatly appreciated by those sorts of people, myself included. I know you're a big fan of routing. You've got the documents and the spreadsheets to prove it.
I do like the idea of solving sort of a logical puzzle with something that was really just intended to be done casually. So just finding all the little unintentional tricks. and choices. And look at this. I love these lava plumes we have going on in this level.
Yeah, this game's sense of style is amazing.
Yeah, it is just great. And just the variety. Every level they just switch up what the idea is. And what are those little creatures that are massing up against those walls there?
You don't want to touch them. That's all I know.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
Right.
But they don't like that purple light.
Slink's finishing his 13th level.
That seems to be correct. Or maybe this is 14, I'm not sure.
He was 12 last time I looked, so I think that's already been counted. So I think he's finished 13.
Oh yeah, there are. I'm reminded in chat by the music levels in this game. You've probably noticed a lot of these levels have sort of a chase sequence, so you're kind of moving through them at a set pace. And one of the levels, at least in Origins, was entirely music themed. You're jumping on giant drums and musical instruments and things. And so in this game, there are I don't know if they're officially called music levels, but I think that's what people used to refer to them, where you're kind of running through them at a fairly set pace, and they time when you cross off of certain things and trigger certain things and jump on certain things. Doing it at a set pace actually ends up playing a song. So the one that I know of, and I think is what it most famous for, is there's a level that will basically just play Black Betty. Wham and lamb. Whoa, Black Betty. As you run through it, and it's I mean, it really sucks when you screw up and you fail and the song just ends. But playing through it and having the song play and knowing that what you're doing is progressing the song along, yeah, it's a really cool idea. Players are able to do the music levels if they so wish. I don't know what the route is, and if any of them are the optimal path.
Yeah, fixed pace levels probably are not the thing that you would pick if you could choose which levels. So, don't know if we're going to see those. Oh, caught on the spikes. Sent back not too far. That's a pretty forgiving check, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if that was spikes or if it was just the platform and then the dragon following behind got him. But
it kind of looked like he clipped the spikes, like right here where you see him. We're seeing Mordred going past. It looked like he clipped the spikes at the bottom of that falling H thing, but may have been the dragon.
Ooh, missed an input there. I think that was supposed to be a low kick that came out as just a kick. Slid too low there, and that's going to be a death for Mordred. Back to Toru. At any point, you can flutter in this game to slow your descent, but in a level that's based off of going downwards as fast as you can, you want to flutter and go slow as little as you can.
Yeah, you'll see these guys fall, and then they'll flutter just for a moment so they can trigger something and then wait for that thing to happen and then continue falling. That's a neat little mechanic. And we finally have Mordred at the bottom of the fall, who again seems to be one level behind the others in the count, so that really does make me wonder what it was that he skipped. Just didn't.
Yeah, I would have thought Mordred would be further ahead if they did indeed skip an entire level.
Yeah, you'd think so. So that's why it makes me think that it was a mismark. We'll find out at the end, I guess. We have a new player that we haven't seen featured yet.
I think they've been in the corner a little bit, but this is the
right.
first time Psychouse is here on the big screen into this tough dragon level, jumping off of the ceiling to just barely avoid the corner and ground pounding into a spinning saw blade. Is able to take the extra hit, though. It's still alive.
Oh, clipped by the dragon there, I think.
Yeah.
This section seems to really give people the most trouble. I think, I think I've seen the most deaths just on this set of screens right here. I have
Yeah,
more.
well, our broadcasters have been focusing on everyone
Yeah.
as they go through this section, and now you can see why this is a very tough section.
See a little preview of what's to come here on the screens on the right.
Yeah, there are a lot of sections with this wind, and if you flutter in the wind, you will actually go up very slowly, but up. And of course, it extends your jumps in a way that's really fun, really scary. If you don't actually know the level, you can be feeling like you have no idea where you're going to end up. And this is a pretty tough platformer, so you can bet there's a pretty good chance a pit or a set of spikes is waiting for you. But when you're speedrunning, you can use these updrafts to have some really fluid movement.
Ground pounding right out of that as quick as possible because you want to be moving faster on the ground than floating through the air.
Yeah, and if you know how to skid boost, you can do that out of a ground pound to get back up to a really high speed. Updrafts are another good way to really see how much extra speed you can get out of a skid boost or a brake boost. If you go into one of those boosts and then jump while you're at that really high speed, in the wind, you will just soar.
16 levels down for Slinks. Final stretch, 4 levels to go here. And then I guess a boss fight, right? 4 levels and then a boss fight.
I think the last level is the boss fight.
Okay, that you can count the boss fight as one of the levels. Wasn't sure
Yep.
about.
Players are able to choose whichever boss fight they want. One of them probably faster than the others. All the players moving pretty well. Toru opting to go the long way around this this movable platform with the updraft, and a death from Mordred. Going to be set back a little bit, not too far.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, it gets that little trick there with the platform.
The checkpoints don't seem to be placed that far apart. I haven't really seen anyone lose a ton of time to a death.
Yeah, it's certain of those runners that the stages rather that that play kind of like a runner where something is chasing you all the way through. Those ones tend to have checkpoints pretty far apart.
Mm-hmm. Slinks in the helper.
How adorable is it that the princess's little wings on her Valkyrie helmet flap when she flutters? So take a look at the top right and bottom left of your screen. Just cross your eyes and do it, because Toru and Mordred are in sync here. And it looks like Mordred has pulled just a little bit ahead in a just one little. Oh, okay, mistakes from both players, but Mordred able to hold on.
Right, and we've been focusing a lot on Slinks, but to be honest, the most important is going to be the fight to make it to the 4th place or above. So probably the people who we know are going to make it are going to be less interesting as we get further and further into this, and we're going to be caring more about these really close 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place people. Slinks with 2 more levels to go. And Mordred and Tori with 4. .31.5 minutes. The cutoff, I believe we said, was going to be 43 something, 43 and some change.
I think it might be 43 flat, but yep.
Oh, okay, sure. So we're, 3/4 of the way through this. And
Slinks on the second to last level. So well under that time.
yeah.
And Slink's getting boxed in by those projectiles. This level's a little samey, so I'm not sure how much progress was lost. Well, how about not much at all? The checkpoint was like right there.
Right. Okay. 20th level. You have to end on a boss fight.
The Chaos Orchestra. Woodard, I think, was doing some break boosting there at some of those enemies, able to accelerate very quickly from a standstill. Unfortunately, attacking in these wind sections kills your momentum that you get when you do a dash attack or a break boost or skid boost or whatever. To build up all that speed, you can keep it through these wind sections, but every time you attack, you lose more and more of that momentum. Ooh, trying to head up to this top area, barely squeezes through. So Slink's reaching the end of the 20th level.
That's it for Slinks there. I didn't see what his time was about the time he finished, but a low...
Low 34, yeah. Or maybe I was wrong. Or maybe the counter's off.
Have to do the...
Or maybe the counter's off. I don't know.
Yeah, so I was wondering if you do 20 and then fight a boss. Counts. One.
The last level played must be a boss level.
Right. Yeah,
here we go.
Boss.
That's a boss. Yeah.
Right.
Look at that guy. That's
like,
incredible.
There was no boss on that level.
I thought it might have been like the boss was chasing you the whole time.
Right,
but
right. He was just so fast you didn't see him. Here we go.
Kushus, who is reporting times here, despite not actually being in the competition. Congratulations on the time, though. It seems pretty solid. Whoa.
Yeah.
So I think that was like a double KO, kind of. I don't think the boss was dead, but Slinks was. So this boss fight, like, you can see he was in that fight for quite a little bit before dying. So the potential for major time loss on this boss fight is pretty real. Getting in really close for this one. That was the third hit.
I don't know.
Died just as the boss. I don't know if that actually saved time there. That death. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be time for Slinks. With a low to mid 36-minute time, real time, in-game time will be calculated and points will be awarded accordingly. We'll get those up for you after the round is over.
Well, Mordred and Toru back together again. We were a little unsure about what was going on with their counters, since one of them appeared to be a level behind the other, even though they're in the same place. But they're quite obviously tied up here.
Shout out to Daniel Mackey J with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you very much. We'll see. It's all in the hands of wow, Little Mai as well, also in this same boss fight. A little unclear which phase they're in. I think they're all in the first phase. So this is exactly as close as it appears. Mordred going to be the first one to move to the next phase, and that's the final phase.
Yeah,
Death for Mordred, Death for Toru and Mai. Okay, I think Mai. Yeah, look how close that was between those three players.
Really close. After 37 minutes to have three people finishing within seconds of each other. Pretty impressive. All right, I'm going to swap some new runners in here. Remember that there are, about 10 people playing at the moment? Sound about right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be 14, and then some people couldn't make it, so we are down to 10. Only 4 are going to be moving on to tomorrow's event. We got Quake up in the top left, entering the final level. Psychhouse, I'm pretty sure, is almost done with this level. Yep, there's the last little bouncer there, so going to be pretty close behind Quake. Fireman, maybe going to have to hustle here to make the cutoff in the 16th level, and there is about 4 minutes and change.
Yeah, I don't see Fireman making up.
Yeah, it moves fast, but not a minute a level fast.
Right, this boss fight alone takes a minute.
Quake took a hit, unable to take another one, but has mostly dealt with the enemies so far. So it's just this one last enemy who might get him. Not going to be a problem. And here you see the difference between the death and not Quake. Just gently flutters over. Gives the guy the old punch. Psychos.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, just on the first phase here, and still has an extra heart.
Just taking a look at that timer in the corner, you can see what a difference it makes when you don't have the load times factored in. I believe these players are using a mod for live split that automatically removes the load times. So when you look at this timer at the top, that is the real time, and at the bottom right, that is with loads removed, I believe.
There's a lot of work has been put into making these very specific formats work for the players, and the players have quite enjoyed. Oh, just barely not getting in the pipe there is Fireman. Remember, even if Fireman can't finish, every level Fireman completes is more points. Very important to stay calm and do as best as they can.
And just a reminder, the way this works is in each of the 10 games, the players will score some number of points based on how fast they finish. It's not necessarily the placing of them, who's ahead of whom at the end of each game that matters. It's really just the time that you get. And then if you don't finish the game, you get some partial points, based on how far you got. But at the end of all the 10 games, we add the scores up, and the 4 players with the best scores will be advancing to tomorrow's competition.
I think this is going to be a PB for Fireman, though. Already completed, I think this is the 16th level here.
Yep.
And on the leaderboards, I think has only earned 65 points, which is completing 13 levels. So a pretty significant PB, I think, for Fireman.
Got about, a minute and a half left on our time here.
Would have to really hustle to get another level in under that time. So I think maybe Fireman's accepted the fate.
I'm not sure if Fireman accepted it or if his internet is accepted.
Well, I don't. Regardless, it looks like 16 levels is going to be the cutoff for Fireman, which is 80 points.
All right, we're seeing the leaderboard up here. It's tough to read for me. My little screen here.
Yeah, I'm going to get all zoomed in.
Yeah, right. But yes, Slinks,
Quake with a fantastic time of 0, by the way. Shoutouts to them. That will get updated in just a little bit. But it looks like Slinks was our fastest finisher with a time of 33:12. Little My just behind, actually. So the load time difference, I think, really threw us off there.
Mm-hmm.
Little My was in the pack of Mordred and Toru, who seemed to finish all at about the same time, but actually was very close to Slinks.
Top 4 players all having total scores above 300. Oh, Quake, our next game.
That's right. According
First
to
one that I'm pretty familiar with.
That's true. According to Twin Fireman, more of an FPS player, so Quake could be more their speed. Though I don't know how Quake is anyone's speed, because that speed is very, very fast.
And lots of side-to-side wobbling.
So I don't think we really have to say too much about Quake. If you found your way to this channel, if you found your way to Twitch TV, you're probably familiar enough with games to understand the lineage of Quake. Doom maybe perhaps the bigger milestone in terms of FPS development, but this is the evolution of Doom. Added the Z-axis,
right? The full 3D,
things.
Not like the fake 3D that Doom is doing.
Yep, including jumping, including rocket jumps, grenade jumps as well are a thing. Bunny hopping. This was as far as I know, the origin of bunny hopping, everyone's favorite first-person shooter. Insane speed movement technique, and really not easily learned. Even if I had 5 months, I don't think I would ever get very good at Quake, especially with the aggressive par times, because they're based off of the records of the people who are really good at Quake and the people who really put time into Quake. They tack on some number of minutes onto that and say, you know what, if you want to get your 100 points, you got to beat Quake in under 24 minutes and 38 seconds.
Right, and they're going to be doing all 4 episodes. And I think they've been asked to do them in a certain order. I'm not actually sure if that's enforced, but I believe we'll be seeing them in a certain order here. And I think that we're also going to see some indicator about what episode each person is on, supposedly, in the HUD.
The color like that the number will show us what episode they're in.
Okay. Quake, one of the oldest games that's been speedrun, or one of the first games to really develop a speedrun community. If you are familiar with Speed Demos Archive,
I'm not. What is that? What is that?
No, what is that? No, but the demo in that title refers to the input recordings that were done in Quake, which is probably why so many people got into speedrunning. It's because not only could you play through the game fast, and it would tell you your time and the level, you could actually record it and show it to other people without having to code massive video files. So it really made it great for people to share their strategies and compete against each other.
Yeah, and
So this is a
nowadays
game
you can download OBS and just click a button, and that will record your screen.
Yeah.
Fraps was a thing, I guess, before OBS, but Quake was well before Fraps,
Before
right?
that,
So the ability to just record what was on your PC was an insane idea. And yeah, that is a huge reason why such a huge speedrun scene grew out of Quake. It's really the roots of speedrunning in a lot of ways. I mean, they probably
yes.
trace further back to Doom, but Quake is the first major branch on that tree. Part of the trunk, even.
Yeah, well, I mean, Quake happened to be at a time when people were sort of starting to get broadband and had know a little bit about the internet, so it was just the right time for people to start sharing that kind of thing. And a great game to optimize. I mean, when you play a platformer, there's not, I mean, with some exceptions, there's not really that much you can optimize. Your character only moves so fast, and level is that long, and you divide length of level by how fast you move, and that's it. But it's in Quake, there's always a little bit more that you can squeeze out of it when you see any kind of like first-person shooter game that someone's trying to optimize. You think that you're following the world record strats, and you end up just really far behind what they are.
You're like, that was flawless. Where did I lose 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And it's because you especially with regards to bunny hopping, you can use bunny hopping to go fast, but if you're really good, you can always be using bunny hopping to go faster. Lots of little changes in speed add up over the course of this I was going to say 20-minute run, but for some people it's more like 15.
Right. So one of the shorter games we've had on here, well, at least for the top finishers, I'm not sure what kind of performance we're going to get out of everybody here. And looking through those cards we were looking at the beginning, it looked like most of the players really did not have Quake as one of their strongest games.
Yeah, very few players were able to get to that sort of upper echelon of Quake speedrunning, because there's like over a decade of mastery that's gone into the game, and then these start times are based off of those times and those performances.
Right. So yeah, that scale, the bar's been set pretty high. So players getting in a little last minute practice here. I hope that's what's going on. I don't know. I don't know how else.
LF is up to a flying start.
Wow.
Everyone else, unfortunately, encountering the menu bug that prevents them from actually playing the game. Very unfortunate. 0 points for all of them. No, that's not the case. We're just... Of course you would want to get warmed up in a game like this with such strange movement technique.
It's a very different... I mean, the most different thing so far that we've seen, being only the third game, that's not saying much, but...
So there they go. We're going to start off with a hub level where you choose a difficulty by walking into a portal labeled what difficulty it is. They're going to be playing on easy, and then they're going to be heading into the various areas. I wonder if you can choose your field of view, because I feel like I'm seeing quite a bit more fisheye on Slinks and Little My than I am on say Mordred. Maybe I'm just imagining it.
I'm not sure about that. It may just be the size of the screens that's creating that effect.
But field of view definitely important, because you are moving so fast. You want to be able to see clearly the places where you're going. Funny enough, you want to see where you're going. Unfortunately, Little My is going to be a bit of a slideshow, so we'll have trouble tracking their progress in this incredibly fast moving. And also, this was before textures. Like they're better than Doom for sure, but there's a lot of really samey textures in Quake, so it's going to be a variation of brown or gray pretty much throughout the entire game.
That's the thing about this game. It is not a very colorful game, but it is a game that I sunk way too much time into, so I will forgive whatever flaws it has.
A very important distinction, actually. In this category, the players...
Oh, didn't make it. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, the grenade jump is really much harder than a rocket jump. And it ties into what I was going to say, actually, because the players are not allowed to do what all of us do when we play Quake, and that's quick save and quick load. They can't do it. So things like rocket jumps and grenade jumps cost health to do, and if you miss it, then that health is gone, that time is gone, and doing it again is not always a great option. So doing it at all is maybe not even what players want to do. So the fact that they have to go all the way back to the start of a level should they die is influencing their decisions and the strats they use, which honestly makes it that much harder to keep pace with the aggressive times that have been set.
Right, and they do have to manage their ammo. It will carry over between levels, but it does not carry over between episodes.
That's right. Your guns and ammo all get reset in between episodes. There is a HUD available to the players in the bottom middle of the screen that I think is something like a speedometer, basically, that players can use to sort of inform what they want to be doing with, say, their bunny hopping or whatever. If they see that number is a little lower than they would like, they might adjust what they're doing.
I'm not seeing a lot of camera wagging back and forth. I was, I guess, expecting to see a little bit of that.
It's really hard to get to the point where you can, where that technique becomes the way to manage your speed. So I think the players are opting to just kind of do a couple jumps here and there, and they'll wiggle left and right. We'll actually see a bit later on, surprisingly similar thing in Mario Kart Double Dash. It's possible to snake back and forth doing mini turbos to boost, and you need to spend a lot of time developing your ability to do that in order to really get the most out of it. So I think the players have opted to put their time into mastering the basics of Quake rather than trying to really get down the extra little speed from their bunny hopping.
Right, because I mean, one death in this is going to negate all the time that you gained by wagging back and forth here. Oh, we have a boss fight.
Yeah, this is Thon or something.
I can't remember. The only one I remember was Shub Nugaruth. That's the only boss I remember.
Yeah. All the bosses in Quake are weird. You don't really shoot them to kill them. They're like puzzle bosses. Here you need to lower both sides of this electric thing and then activate it.
Yeah, it's the boss fights. You don't really interact with the boss directly. You just kind of like press a bunch of buttons in sequence.
Yep. So that is episode 1 done for Slinks. Looks like Mordred. No, sorry, that was Mordred. Who is moving on to episode 2. Boss done for Little Mai. Maybe it's Maye. I'm not sure. Mai. Anyway, this is not about me learning how to pronounce French names. This is about the players playing Quake, going fast. Mordred out to a lead. Let me take a look at our players' Quake times, because yeah, I'm seeing quite a bit of difference, and I'm seeing Mordred and Fireman pretty far ahead of everyone else. Fireman, best player by far, 158 points in Quake. Mordred with 137. Psych House at 121. And then Little Mai, the only one to actually complete the goal in the par time. Everyone else pretty close, but not quite there. So we've seen Slinks dominate the first 2 games, but likely going to drop back a little bit on this one.
Yeah, he can afford to drop a little bit, but yeah, I think this is one where everyone is going to do worse than they would like, to be honest. This is, I would say, probably one of the more unforgiving games we've seen yet.
We might swap in Fireman a little bit just to get a look at the gameplay of the stronger player. But the focus is on these 4 players, because these are the players in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. No, these are the top 4.
No. Yes, Lynx is one of the top.
So yeah, maybe we'll get Little Man, but the focus is trying to track the people who are in the top 4, basically, because the top 4 that's the important cutoff. Those are the people who advance to the second half of our grand finals tomorrow here on Speed Gaming and Ultime Decathlon. So it's not over after today. Lots more speedrunning to be had. So far, we have played a game called Hammerwatch, indie game on Steam, and we've played Rayman Legends.
Right, there's 10 games today. It's the third of 10. We will see all 10 games today and tomorrow as well. I love those rocket jumps. Point down at the ground and fly in the air.
Is that a meme? That this game tried so hard to be Call of Duty? I really hope it is. It made me smile, regardless of what was intended. But yeah, we've got people involved with Ultimate Decathlon in the chat, Twin, Senan, and more. And they'll be answering questions and things. So feel free to ask in chat if you're curious and want to know more.
Another level down for Mordred. Is he the farthest ahead of the players on screen right now?
Yes, pretty sure.
Looks like it, yeah.
Didn't quite get that rocket jump. Down to 39 health, down to 3 health on that rocket jump. Does get the health pack to get that health back up, but that was close. Surprised that Mordred went for that. Very bold. I'm not too familiar with this level, but I think that is a situation where not getting that rocket jump means a fairly significant detour.
Is Toru on a different route?
I think this is the same.
Oh, it looks.
Yeah.
You're just thrown off because it's green. His indicator. Okay.
I think some of that stuff is the players have some amount of control over it on their end, so I think there's room for something to go wrong and the player's not going to worry about fixing it. They're going to focus on playing the game. But you could be right. This area looks pretty different. It was requested that the players do the episodes in the same order, but I don't think it is strictly required.
I think it's enforced.
Mordred finishing episode 2 there. Episode 3 puts a super shotgun in your hands right away. I guess it's a double-barreled shotgun in this game. Little Mai doing some rocket jumps. And taking some damage.
Setting up a grenade shot here. Oh, it doesn't quite get it.
The grenade jumps in particular are very, very finicky. So I think what was happening there was you're jumping over a trigger to drop some kind of wall or drop the floor or something. I can't remember, but
I think he wants
successfully avoided it.
Get to that button without it opening up the side walls and triggering those enemies. And there we go, another level down.
Slink's managing to jump over the barrier at the end of that last level. Mai is on this slow-moving elevator with Slinks.
That button under the stairs, that took me so long to find, bro. That one under the stairs got me.
It's not going to get these players. They've been
not even hidden. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, no, these people already know the route, so we don't have to worry about that.
They've been playing Quake for 5 months or so. They were doled out. There was a focus on the first 5 games, and then the second 5 games were kind of added in afterwards, so that you didn't get overwhelmed. And I forget which set Quake was in, because we're not quite playing them in that order today.
I think on the website there's a set A and set B. If you click to the right page, that probably corresponds to it.
So a reminder that to get 200 points, which it would be a miracle if our players suddenly got to the 200 point mark. Their PBs are quite a bit short, but 14 minutes 38 seconds is the 200 point mark. And if they want to get that full 100 points, they're going to need to finish in 24:38. And for a lot of people in this race today, despite being the top 20 or so in the competition, they would need to get a personal best to actually finish Quake in 24 minutes. It is a gigantic ask, especially when you're also focused on playing 9 other games.
Right. And 5 months is a long time, but 10 games is a lot to learn. So, yeah, you really can't just master all of them. You really got to pick where your strengths and weaknesses are, and where you're most likely to get more points.
Nice explosive jump there from Slinks. And you're right, like, you might realize like it's going to take me a long time to properly figure out how to bunny hop. I'd rather eat a time loss on Quake and spend my efforts learning some of these other games where I know I'm actually going to get something out of it.
Yeah, and given where the scale is set, you know that everyone's scores in general are going to be a bit lower than average on it.
Ooh, late into a level there, Slinks falls down. That's back to the start of the level. One of the things players can do, you see Slinks doing it, is when you place the grenade, you use the shotgun and use the shots on the shotgun, bang, bang, to time out when the grenade is going to explode.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah. I feel like it's something Yogi the Monk would have come up with. One of those those timing strats. So major time loss for Slinks there. We'll see if they're able to recover mentally and start playing their best. Does get that grenade jump. As we got Mordred putting the... I forget what they call it. There's the needle gun, and then is it the super needle gun? I can't remember, but it's a really cool full... Well, there's 2, right? There's the 4-barrel thing that rotates like a minigun. When's the last time you played Quake?
Oh, it's been review.
Like 20 years, probably.
Maybe not quite so much.
Actually, watching these guys play, I wouldn't mind firing it up and giving it a go.
Yeah, right.
Nice explosive jump there for Mordred.
Swimming levels. Quote unquote swimming. It's more just the flying.
Basically, yep. You're able to perfectly hold your gun out in front of you the whole time.
And we are in our last episode here, so this is we're gonna start to see some finishes. Ugh, Mordred getting hacked up. There's a time loss, dang.
Yeah, that was fairly early on into the level, which is fortunate.
These levels aren't
Able
very
to
long.
avoid those enemies that time. They're not very long, but that's also because they're not allowed to take that much time on these levels. We're up to 17 minutes already. We're well over the 200 point mark, and honestly, we're creeping up on that 100 point mark.
That's right. So if the players had finished maybe a couple minutes ago, they could have gotten 200 points, but that would have been pretty impressive. So as every second ticks by, points that these players are going to score is going down. I missed what the scale was. Do you remember what the scale was? Points per second, or seconds per point, rather?
It's splash. Three points per map, basically.
3 points per map.
Oh, that's if you're below 100.
Right, if you're below, yeah, if you don't finish the goal. Right, so you get, if you don't finish the goal, what's that? 6 seconds. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for every 6 seconds these players lose, they go down 1 point. And if you don't finish the entire goal, you get a score based on how far you got.
Mordred going for this
jump. There you go.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a Metroid Prime ghetto jump, where hitting a ramp on your upwards trajectory of the jump gives you an extra bit of speed to get up there. Has enough speed to cross that retreating bridge as well. Slope jump is much better name for it than ghetto jump. So I will happily use the proper Quake terminology. Although I guess maybe Metroid switched after GDQ appearances and being forced to call it the names for their techniques. One of my earliest wishes, as someone who only watched speedruns and wasn't really a part of the community, way back in the day, was to discover a technique and name it. And I would make sure I didn't name it after myself, because that's just not okay.
You got to have a mutual agreement with someone else, and they named a trick after you, and you name the trick.
Yeah, even if they had nothing to do with the discovery of the trick. That's the Feasel jump. Everyone knows how to Feasel jump.
Here's your $50. Well, 5 levels down here, or no, 4 levels down. I guess the counter says what level they're on, not what they've completed.
Yeah, I think so.
So, jumping on these little posts.
Well,
I hate
actually,
this part.
I have no idea actually.
Yeah, you know what?
I had a list of how many there was in each. There it is. There's 7 in episode 4.
There is. In each of the episodes, 7.
I think some of them have 6. So that there's 30 total.
Oh,
No,
is that
doesn't
so?
make
I
sense.
thought it was 7 for some reason. Okay.
Players didn't
All right,
have to do the extra level with the
Oh,
low gravity.
well done. Oh, I love that.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
had
really nice.
Way over the needed amount of speed to get way up there. Defiled the altar. I remember that. Man, Quake was a good game.
Was. Still
It
is.
You're right. It didn't stop existing.
Yeah, so that counter says what level they're on, not how many they've beat. I'm pretty sure I never saw it say 0, so yeah, I guess that makes sense. So this would be the last level here for Mordred. We don't see Maya up on stream, but I'm wondering who's the first finisher here. Is it Mordred?
Both Mordred and Mai have the best scores in Quake to date. Mordred's a fair bit higher, but 10 points more. So I would expect Mordred to be the winner, but it's such a volatile game. I also wouldn't be too surprised if someone had pulled off a quote unquote upset. I wouldn't really call it an upset if mine.
They're so close to
Mordred,
each. I mean, they must be so close to each other, though.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it. Mordred's across the finish line. Just under 22 minutes. Wait, no, you gotta fight the. There's a boss.
Yeah.
There's a final boss to Quake. Duh. Yeah, there's a bit of a sequence here, and then you need to telefrag the boss actually, which I didn't figure out for a long time, especially because I was used to like using cheats and stuff to just blow through it, and then it was like, I can't shoot him. He doesn't die. He can't kill me because I got that IDDQD, but yeah, I couldn't figure it out. But basically, there's a teleporter location moving around the map, and at some point it passes through Shub-Niggurath. There it is, into the teleporter. You teleport inside Shub-Niggurath, hack it up with your axe, blow it up from the inside. I don't know why that's why you have to kill him, but that is the classic ending to the classic game Quake, and that is a finish from Mordred. Fireman got a 1928.
Wow, sub 20. We weren't sure if we were going to see sub 20, but there we go. Well, I guess we didn't see sub 20, but it existed.
It happened for sure.
All right, tore up on the screen now.
Trying to do some mental math. That's about 5 minutes, which is about 50 points. So I think about a 150 for Fireman, I think.
That's pretty good. I would say, well, I mean, maybe a little low compared to what the top finishers are going to be getting in a lot of these games. But, you know, for this game, that is better than I would have expected.
For Quake, 150 is maybe near the top all time. Let me, I'll do a little digging.
Among these players in the competition.
Yes. Yeah, 177 is the highest that anyone in the Decathlon has got. Fireman's 158 is fifth best in the entire tournament. And you know what? Two of the people who got a 177 and a 164 don't have times in any other game. They actually joined the Decathlon and became a part of things just for Quake. So that gives you, that's a perfect example of how much you need to focus on Quake if you really want to take it to this next level. And Fireman's kind of there. Very impressive that Fireman's able to put up those times while also competing in all of these other games.
I think we've hit the cutoff, haven't we? We're done, right?
Yeah. That angry red timer has flashed. Points will be tabulated for everyone who hasn't finished. I think most players probably expected not to finish. They were just hoping to get as far as they could for as many points as they could.
All right, in a moment, we're going to see the Quake points put up there, but we see the points from our first two games, Hammerwatch and Rayman, and there we go. We've got, sometimes you see there are some times up there, and then there are some, like, you know, how far did the person get, and you're going to score points based on either of those criteria. Slink's still on top. The lead that even though he didn't finish this one, the lead that he got from just kicking butt on those first two games is still carrying him out 451 points for him total. If that went by too quickly for you, we have a link in the chat here. Boom. So follow that, click on the tab at the top that says tournaments, and then go down to leaderboard at the bottom of that page, and you will see that screen that we were just on a moment ago.
Yeah, but first you should come back and watch what's on the screen right now. This is an incredibly fast, I want to be the guy type fan game with randomly generated levels. The goal is going to be between like 2 and 6 minutes. So once it starts, you're not going to want to blink. But first we'll have a bit of a break while the players get set up.
So are the players using the same seed?
Yes.
Remember. They should, right? Yeah, they are.
But they are not going to know what levels are coming. I think it's pulling from a list of about 900 levels or something. So theoretically they could have practiced all 900, but I don't think that is going to be the case. So I think everyone is going to be reacting to a lot of these levels for the first time.
That's interesting. I don't No, there are some other games that have randomly generated levels in this, but let's see, like Steam World, for instance. But this one I think is going to be the most intense. The randomization is the most intense for the reason that you state there, that they will levels are all very different and they're designed. They're not procedurally generated. They're designed to be completed in that way. And yeah, they're gonna have to figure these sort of puzzle like levels out as they go. Really short one for the end of this set here.
We're seeing some more.
Yeah,
times come in. Fireman indeed got a 1928. Him and or them and Mordred, rather, the only two players to finish Quake, as I kind of expected, based off of the PBs. Lots of people got pretty deep into episode 4.
Yep, and pay particular attention to Psychos and Toru. They are right on the border, being 4th and 5th on this list here. Remember, the top 4 people are going to be advancing to the next stage of the competition happening tomorrow. So right now, that's the part that we care about. Bubble is right there, the 4th player and the 5th player. Very close to each other in points. 6 points between them.
Le Chamot as well, actually, very close.
Yeah.
It could end up being a heck of a battle for that coveted 4th place spot.
Link's, though, in a very strong position, 451. He can afford to relax a little bit, although we do still have 7 more games to do, so it's a lot of time for him to slip. And we know that the 2 of the games that he's done already has been 2 of the best ones in Link's repertoire. So yeah, that's got to weigh on you a little bit psychologically. If you know that you already got your strength out of the way, you can only lose from here. But we don't know. Actually, there may surprise us. Slinks may surprise us. Some of these other games.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on the person, right? Maybe you're the kind of person who rides high on your great performance so far, or maybe you're the kind of person who just worries about the tough games coming ahead. I will say, when it comes to I'm Gonna Be the Cat, a lot of our players today are pushing the 200 point mark. Toru's actually got a 202 PB. Steffler, who I think is not competing today, just shy at 198. Le Chamot, who is in 5th, maybe 6th place, has a 191. But honestly, almost everyone competing is in the 170s, 180 range. So I think everyone's going to be getting pretty close to that 2 minute or so cutoff for I Want to Be the Cat. Yeah, 2 minutes exactly.
I'd love to see this happen in 2 minutes. Let's see a 2-minute run of this.
So the cutoff for 100 points is going to be 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Judging from some of the times of everyone on the board, I think probably everyone's going to be a lot closer to that 2 minutes. It's not starting or ending, Jace Bro. You're about to see the 4th game in a series of 10. But this next one is going to be starting, except it looks like we are going to be taking a break here. This break was scheduled for after I Want to Be the Cat. But I think we are going to go ahead and do it now. If I am perhaps reading too much into this pause timer.
Yeah, I guess they have to fix a bit of a stream issue. So we're gonna have to kill some time here. So how many of the games on this list have you played before?
Well, Um, Definitely played Mario Kart Double Dash. Played that a whole bunch. Not quite the childhood highlight the way Mario Kart 64 was
Right.
for me. I was not blessed with a Super Nintendo as a kid. I had the Genesis, so the original Super Mario Kart kind of passed right by me. I know a lot of people in our age bracket might fondly remember that Mario Kart, but for me, 64 was my golden one, and then Double Dash came after that, and I quite enjoyed it. One of the few games I would play with my sister, actually, because it was the 2-player mode would have the second player in the same cart, and they were in charge of like throwing the items and like wiggling the stick to do the mini turbos. So I actually, just thinking about the game, I have the memory of my sister actually asking me to play a video game with her, and it was like because those were so rare.
Right.
Hammerwatch I had not played,
Cool.
but I had heard of at least.
Rayman Legends, probably, right?
I played Origins, played through the entirety of Rayman Origins 4-player co-op with some friends.
4-player co-op, that's chaos.
Yeah, it was, and it was a mountain of fun. It was so fun, and you can do the same thing in Rayman Legends. I think, actually, it's been a while since we all got together, but I think that same friend actually bought Legends, and we just haven't got around to playing it, and I absolutely would like to. SteamWorld Dig I haven't played. I heard of it, liked what I saw, and then we did SteamWorld Dig 2. Yeah, just recently. Well, the game came out just recently, and then also had a speedrun that was organized by Ultimate Decathlon. And we sort of did an English language restream of that. So very familiar with the mechanics of the game, despite having never played it.
Right, yes, SteamWorld Dig 2, very similar kind of format. We had 3 days worth of, or 3 episodes worth of competition where we whittled down the players to the top 4 who are going to be flying out to do the finals live on December 4th. So actually just after this. I wonder if they're just going to rent the same place out and just doing both from the same spot back to back. It would seem to make the most sense to do it that way. But yeah, that's coming up December 4th. Finals for that. I believe we'll be doing an English restream of those finals. SteamWorld Dig 2. But we'll have SteamWorld Dig 1, the one that started it all. What about Cloud Build? Did you ever play that?
No. This was... So all these games I have at least heard of, if not seen gameplay of, if not seen speedruns of. But Cloud Built was the one where I was like, I think I've heard that name before. Definitely the biggest blind spot for me on this list. I did look into it a little bit, though.
Volgar the Viking, I also didn't know until I...
So I'm actually very familiar with this one, despite having never played it, because I'm a fan of the guys at GiantBomb.com, their video game reviewer / they're kind of transitioning into more of a general let's play video game entertainment sort of thing. But they did a full playthrough of Volgar the Viking. One of the staff members is Brad Shoemaker, and he likes to play hard games, punishing games. And so they do a feature called Breaking Brad, where they make him repeatedly play a hard game, and he swears a lot, and they get through it. And so I really enjoyed the Breaking Bad series of Volgar the Viking because it is such a hard, punishing game. And because my only experience of it was watching this playthrough of someone playing it for the first time, it was a treat to look into what speedrunning the game is like. It's a very, when played casually, it's a pretty plodding, methodical game. In the same spirit as something like a Castlevania or, I guess Rastin is what it really draws inspiration from.
Reference Rastin? Wow.
Well, when you see it,
I like that.
You'll see that this game is basically a love letter to Rastin. But there's a roll move that you can cancel the animation of with a spear throw into another roll, so you end up rolling and chucking spears all over the place, and your movement actually becomes quite fluid and impressive to watch. There's a reason that Volgar is one of the last games on the list. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting today, but haven't played it. Your original question.
Super Monkey Ball 2, I think we both played that one, right?
No, I've never actually played it. Again, this is one of those games where I've seen tons of footage of, I've seen speed runs of in the events. I have a pretty good idea of how to play it and how it would play like, and I have a pretty good idea I'd be really bad at it.
Yeah.
But I have not actually played Super Monkey Ball 2.
Takes some getting used to. When you just watch somebody running that game, and and you've never played, it doesn't get across just how hard it is to control.
Right? Yeah. And he just bounces off the wall. He goes really fast, and he just points at the goal.
Exactly. It's easier. You just go flying off a ledge, and you land right on the goal on this platform that was a little tiny speck in space.
I regret to inform Black Moon in chat that Hammerwatch was the first game we played today, so you're gonna have to go back and check the VODs, or come back tomorrow for the grand finals. This is grand finals, like part 1, basically. But we'll be playing Hammerwatch again tomorrow. It is going to be the first game tomorrow, so 9 a.m. Eastern time is when you're going to want to be here for that.
Right, and just to recap the format for people who joined us a little late here, we have, it was supposed to be 14 players, but some of them couldn't make it. We have 10 players today, and the top 4 players at the end of today are going to move on to tomorrow's competition. So what's been happening over the past 5 months is a whole bunch of people have been learning 10 different games, 10 games in the Decathlon here, and they were trying to score qualifying points. So basically not just on their own time, just doing PB attempts, posting it to the leaderboard, and then based on where your PB is on the leaderboard at, I don't know when the cutoff was, but sometime before today, you score a certain number of points, and the players who had the most points across all those 10 games got to participate today. And then players, I guess a little bit higher up than that in terms of points, got to bypass today and go straight to tomorrow. So there will be 10 players who scored enough points that they didn't even have to play today. And so the 4 players from today will join 10 players from tomorrow for another set of 14 players. And then the 4 players who are the top tomorrow will go to the finals on December 2nd, I think we said. We'll be flown out to the finals on December 2nd.
Yeah, it's a fantastic format because prior to today, where today and tomorrow are huge days, they're big events, but these guys have been playing and learning these games together as a community for like 5 months, right? And they've been posting their times to the website, and they're seeing the number of points they earn is going up. There's weekly events where everyone competes, not quite for points per se, and the stream is down on my end, so
it is. Let me know when it comes back up for you. I don't want to refresh it because I don't want to lose this little splash screen. Let me know when it's back. Sorry, go on.
Oh, Restream bot can still hear us, right? I was like, oh, so they can't hear us anymore. Okay, then I will keep talking about the lovely format. Yes, there is a problem, and it will be sorted out in short time, but yeah, so there's been a lovely sense of community that has been built up around the event from people who aren't competing today, but have been competing and learning with everyone else, and so it's a lovely event. I'm super proud to play a small part in it today, and I highly encourage you guys go to the website.
Yeah. This continues to happen. This is the 5th one that's been done so far, and no signs of stopping. So if you like this idea, you can join in. And I really like the community building part of it. And they did a lot over the last 5 months to really get everyone together. And they did little mini tournaments and races, and there's just a lot of community, a lot of sense of community built up by it. And some of these games, I probably never would have even seen if it wasn't for this. So if you like to learn some new games as well as some familiar ones, it's a good mixture. I was really impressed when I first saw the list. I was like, wow, where do they think of these? But then when you really look through them, you can see they try to span all the genres. They try to span different eras. Have popular and less popular ones, professional and indie. I mean, just all over the place.
Yeah, and none of them are anywhere close to like a stinker or anything, right? Like all of these are fantastic games for speedrunning, in particular, as well as being pretty much all of them great games in their own right. They also especially are great for speedrunning. Many of them have tools for speedrunning built in. They were developed with speedrunning in mind, and other games have just earned a community through perhaps sheer chance alone. Sometimes a game just does things right that people really come to it for, like Quake. Kind of a phenomenon. I don't think id Software was well, I don't know. Doom, people were probably doing, they probably didn't call it speedrunning, but they were playing Doom trying to beat those par times while Quake was in development, I'm sure. So
Oh yeah, they were.
oh, and the demos for Quake. Yeah, I know. I take it back. Quake was definitely developed with people playing it quickly in mind.
For sure.
For sure.
Oh yeah, it definitely started with Doom. I feel like Quake is the thing that really got people to kind of work together as a community. I mean, I know Doom had, you could dial up into your Doom BBS and trade times with people, but Quake is really what kicked it off in my mind.
So it looks like we are going to be. Oh, we're playing the trailer of all the games. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, okay, we're no. Look at this. I love. By the way, check out the the production values by the guys over at Ultimate Decathlon. I don't know if it's a good look for the two Speed Gaming staff members to be up here praising another channel's production values that we don't quite
we match up to. Take some notes,
when I see this stuff, I legit get excited. But
yeah,
I look forward to one day having this kind of stuff on some of our own events. But right now, I'm very happy just watching and being a commentator.
There we go. We're back up again. Leaderboard is right there. I Want to Be the Cat is the next game. Shortest one of the list.
By far, yeah.
By far.
We're going to be seeing a lot of players up near that 2-minute mark, I'm pretty sure.
I bet. Do we know what the cutoff time is for this?
6 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh, okay. It is going to be the 100-point mark. Exactly. Yep. Got it. Yep, and 1 point for every 2 seconds. They're going to
every 2 seconds.
I know.
Another point slips away.
Yeah.
So fast-paced. So again, to reiterate, this is going to be, it's pulling a set of levels from a pool of about 500. So maybe these guys have put in enough time that they'll recognize some of these levels. But they're going to be sight reading a lot of these levels, reacting to what they see for the first time in a lot of cases. And it's really interesting to test a player's ability to do that. You were saying like, there's some randomness to the layout in SteamWorld Dig, but generally you're going to go down in SteamWorld Dig and you're going to, go left and right to avoid something troublesome that pops up. But your ability to adapt is going to be tested much more in this game.
Game doesn't even have an entry in the game directory on Twitch.
Yeah, this was oh, did I write it down? I specifically requested the name of the developer because I wanted to shout them out, and I will find that.
And just to recap here, it is going to be the top 4 players from today that advance on to tomorrow. Slinks really got the lead on Lockdown here, 451 versus Mordred's 430, 413 for Little Mai, and now we're below 400. So 372 for Psycho's, 366 Toru, and 359 for La Chamut, which is very close to each other. 72, 66, 59, very close. And those players are right there on the bubble. That is a really important part of this leaderboard here. So pay attention to those players, Psychos, Toru, and Lishamud.
So the developer of I Want to Be the Cat is Nemega, and I believe the game was made available for free to all the players in this tournament. I also want to say it was kind of developed with this tournament in mind, but maybe I'm stretching it a little bit. But this game is very closely tied to the event. Lovely little thing, and I can't wait for it to start. It's going to be any moment now. Leshama doing a bit of the OBS Hall of Mirrors dance for us. And here we go.
All right, building world. Randomly generated. Players will all be on the same seed, so they will all get the same levels, but the players do not know the order of the levels and most likely haven't seen most of them before.
F-Zero music is going to be perfect for this. Just barely avoiding these spikes. And look at the seamless transition to the next level. Love it. Again, you can see all these hesitation as players are sizing up what they're up against because they've never seen these levels before. We got some walls you can stick to. Curling around there is Mordred, moving on to the next level. Has to wait for this platform. Very tricky to be patient in a game like this. When that timer is ticking, you want to go as fast as possible. It's very easy to jump the gun.
There's quite a lead going on here. A bit ahead of Slinks and Mordred. Quite a ways ahead of Psychos.
Yeah, it's not that big a lead, but given the length of the goal, it's actually a fairly sizable lead.
Mm-hmm. How many levels? How many levels do they have to complete here?
I want to say 20, but I will.
You're doing that.
I think 17.
Perfect sync between Mordred and Toru. 17? Okay. Yeah, so we're like halfway point already. But we're well past 2 minutes, so.
Yeah, those times are based off of the best set of levels you could, not the best, but like a very good set of levels. So if the game gives you some tough levels, you're not going to be getting too close to that 2-minute mark.
But technically, after 2 minutes, every 2 seconds beyond that they spend, they're losing potentially 1 point for every 2 seconds. I wonder how many players will finish it. They have 6 minutes and 10 seconds to finish the goal. Otherwise, they'll have to be awarded partial credit based on how far they got. They won't be able to get the big points. Oh Psychos. Man, I got like a Yoku box.
Yeah.
Imagining like the Mega Man's.
It's weird because my first instinct was to think of Mario, maybe not Galaxy, maybe Sunshine, with the things that turn over and alternation. I don't know. Wow, look at this level. Those things are moving so fast. Able to get into the middle, and wow, nicely done there. Goal.
Done in
3.5 minutes. Mordred, the first one to finish on stream.
Yeah, 3:14 according to in-game up there. I'm not sure if we're using in-game or real-time. Probably in-game for this, right?
I believe that's right, but I can double check. In-game time.
Yeah.
This is called I Want to Be the Cat. It was developed by Nemega, who was, I believe, kind of working with the Ultimate Decathlon team to to make this a part of the event. Slinks is going for some kind of
what is the skip?
Some kind of skip here on the side, trying to get around the spike. I don't even know if it's possible. I don't even know if he knows it's possible, but he's going for it. Again, it's not like super obvious what needs to happen to get through the level, right? It is a bit puzzly, so.
All right, Slink's done. I think that's the last one. 431 Slinks. Big difference between first and second finishers. I don't know if people finished off stream that we didn't see, but that's huge for a game this long. 1 minute difference.
Yeah, plus. Mordred absolutely killed it. A lot of other players have struggled to come. Ooh, a very late death into the level for Psychouse. Toru as well, dying again fairly late into this this block section. They are controlled by switches though, so it's not quite the punishing timing element that there is to the Mega Man Yoku block, but he's through it into this water windmill section that I was gonna say it's not quite as hard as it looks. The two players were able to breeze right through it immediately, but Toru showing us actually not as easy as they made it look, but does cross that finish line. Oh yeah, it does still say.
No, you just need to refresh.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you were looking for it in the database and couldn't find it.
I was, and I couldn't find it, so I cleared it. Should say nothing now.
You can just clear it? I didn't know that's a thing. All right. Back to the race in hand. A death there for Quake, who is showing us this dash. We didn't really see this from the other players. I would imagine by this time they know it exists. I think it's probably just a decision to not use it because it looks like it goes quite a ways and kind of takes control away from players. So I think maybe they just preferred to keep control at the cost of, not moving quite as fast. But that's it. That's over. We're on to the next game.
Yeah, and that's very compared to if they're expecting 2 minutes for the 200 point mark, that we ended up with some pretty bad levels there. Bad seed.
Yeah, I was going to come to that same conclusion because a lot of players that we're seeing today have fantastic scores in I Want to Be the Cat, all very close to that 200 mark. But I guess those scores came from good seeds. So when the game gives you a bad seed, you're simply not going to be able to match those times. But as long as everyone's playing on the same seed, and they are, then we do still have a completely fair competition. It just means that everyone is going to get less points than they would have on a good seed. Right.
It's sort of ruining their expectation for how many points that they're going to get, even though it is still fair for everybody. But yes, Lynx did get bumped down out of first place. Mordred, with his amazing performance, clinched first so far. But here we are moving into just going to be the first game of the second set.
Very solid racing game. You can see the blue sparks. Well, I guess it's yellow, red, and then blue. Blue is what you want. That means you've charged up your mini turbo and you can let it go for a small boost. It is rather small, but it adds up over time. And the top runners of this game are able to charge up these mini turbos not only very quickly, but they're also able to... You're supposed to be sliding, like turning, while you do these boosts. But thanks to a couple different techniques, particularly what they call A-Tech, which is releasing the accelerator, before initiating the slide, your cart doesn't really kick out to the side too much. And so if you angle away from the way you're sliding and you do this A-Tech, you can kind of initiate a slide moving mostly forwards. So it lets you do the mini turbo boosts even down straightaways. And it takes a lot of effort to learn. I don't know how much of that we're going to be seeing from our players today. It's kind of like the bunny hopping in Quake. We saw a lot of players opt to be more consistent. Quake is a lot more punishing, I'd say, than Mario Kart. You know, if you mess up a mini turbo and you wiggle a little bit, you don't lose a minute, right? So
Right.
I bet some players actually have put in some time to learning how to really optimize some of these mini turbos. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited to see where the players are at in this game.
Bear with me for just a second. I'm going to refresh the stream. Okay. So here we are in our second set of games.
Yeah, we took our break a little early, so I Want to Be the Cat kind of joined this second set. It's not reflected in the layout, so maybe we'll just go with what you said. But you're right. We're moving on to game number 5, part of our second set. Going to be a good deal longer than I Want to Be the Cat. That's for sure. The cutoff time is 38 minutes, with the 200 point time being that 28-minute mark.
Right. So that means a player that finishes in 28:18 will get exactly 200 points. And then beyond that, for every 6 seconds they take, their potential points will go down by 1. Once we reach 38 minutes and 18 seconds, that'll be the cutoff. Anyone finishing then gets 100 points. Anyone who hasn't finished by then will get less than 100 points based on how far through the game they've gotten. And just to draw people's attention there, I don't know if you can see this, but if you look between the 4th and 5th players, 489 to 489, we have a tie right there on the line.
Oh no!
The Little Knight and Toru are, because 4th is good, 5th is not, and the 4th and 5th players have the exact same amount of time right here. So these two are right on the line and dead even. So
right. So I mean, that's I said oh no, but that's actually incredibly exciting as a viewer. But as someone who can sympathize with someone being an admin on a tournament, that's a weird tiebreak situation you need to be ready to resolve. So I don't. I mean, it's going to shake out over time. But if there was a 4th and 5th place tie, I don't know if seeding would be a tiebreaker or something. But that is exciting. The list of games is there, but I'll go ahead and read them out. You can see them on screen left to right, indicated by these icons. So we started with Hammerwatch, as indicated by the Ankh icon, that is the extra one up. Then we had Rayman Legends, indicated by the silhouette of Glowbox's face. We had Quake, and I hope you can recognize the quad damage symbol there. I Want to Be the Cat, from that lovely little cat face. Mario Kart Double Dash, from the 2 turtle shells there. SteamWorld Dig, by the gear and mining pick. Cloud Built, I'm not even sure what that icon is supposed to be, but that is what that blue column indicates. Volgar the Viking is the sword and shield. Super Monkey Ball 2 is Gong Gong with the 2 in the face. And our final game of Super Metroid Project Base, as indicated by Samus's helmet. Which is a ROM hack of Super Metroid. Plays it plays a little differently, but the overall structure of it is quite similar to the original game. So if you know the original game, you'll be able to follow it quite well.
Well, gearing up for our race here. Looks like everyone waiting around on the cup select screen.
The ornament the main character has on her helmet. Nice touch. For Cloud Built, that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing the All Cup Tour here in Mario Kart Double Dash. All 16 tracks in the game back to back. And now, when you normally do this, the cups are all randomized. I think it starts with Luigi Raceway and ends with Rainbow Road. But the ones in the middle are all randomized, so it would be rather chaotic to follow. So the players are actually given a seed that will randomize the levels in the same way for all of the players.
I think it's a save state. I think it's a save state. It's already
it might be a save state. You're right.
It's already got the RNG set.
So yes, I wonder if there's any
much easier to follow.
Any shenanigans where like, oh, if I just drive perfectly straight, I go through this item box and always get the same item from it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, there might be. I mean, there's some timing on the start of the race, so you probably work out some kind of manipulation to that.
Ooh, Leshamot's slide there got a little bit off. Sliding is tricky. If you're not using ATEC, your cart will kind of kick out to the side when you initiate a slide. And if you're not ready to control it, that slide can kick you out into an obstacle. And then as soon as he lost all his speed, comboed by a red shell. This is Grand Prix, not time trials. So you're going to have to deal with all of the other competitors on the track who are throwing banana peels and bombs and shells, and particularly those blue shells. And you're just going to have to deal with that time loss.
And you don't have to be first, but the cutoff is 3.
I think probably top 4 is it
4?
lets you keep playing.
4?
Yeah. If it's anything
really for all of them?
like I
Okay.
remember / previous Mario Kart games. If it's anything like Mario Kart 64, if you finish all of the cups in 4th place, you see the 3 people on the podium, and then you're off to the corner looking at them, and then a bomb drives by and explodes you. That's what happens if you finish 4th place in Mario Kart 64. It's kind of brutal, honestly. We got first one across the goal is Psychouse, followed by Le Chamot, and everyone else is pretty close behind as well. I never finished 4th place in Mario Kart Double Dash because I'm so good. So I don't know what happens. And I hope we don't find out today, honestly.
Yeah, that would be quite a setback. Probably more than any of the other games that have time losses in it, having to repeat a race.
So the times are all very, very close for Mario Kart. Maybe the closest of all the games. All the top players are right around the 150 mark. With the standout being someone who I don't think is competing today, unfortunately. But Naruto Kyubi actually has a 201, which is like 50 points above everyone else. It would have been a treat to see them play Mario Kart. But yeah, as it is, we have no real standouts of the bunch. Expect to see this this close competition. Fireman is in Bowser's Castle. Torin and Psychos in Dry Desert. So I don't think the save state is keeping them all on the same order of courses. So it might be a little hectic for us. We'll do our best. I see a lot of players are opting to mostly only slide during turns. Even it's pretty easy to, while sliding, to charge up a mini turbo by tapping the stick to the left and right. But releasing it and having that boost do anything for you on a turn means you need to be doing a sideways boost, which is thankfully done by holding the stick towards the turn. But while sliding, depending on the turn, you might want to be holding away from the turn because it's not that sharp a turn. So in those situations, you need to quick tap the stick into the turn, let go of the boost so it doesn't boost you into the wall, and then initiate a slide and start holding away from the turn again. So very tricky to make use of multiple mini turbos through short. I'm trying to think of the terminology for a turn that isn't very sharp. I guess we'll just have to call it that.
Oh,
Le Chamot is into an acute turn, as opposed to obtuse.
Sharp.
Yes, you're right. An obtuse turn. I don't know. There's a racing game fan. A wide turn. There we go. I like that.
You're an obtuse turn.
Hey, now this is a family show. We're seeing there's a possible shortcut here for Le Chamot is going to actually intentionally slow down to drop down here. It seems like it would be slow, but you really do skip a good portion of the track, so slowing down to do that is worth it. Fireball for Fireman, not going to be able to take the shortcut, so is going to slide off there. That's the second time Fireman has fallen there. Hopefully going to be able to keep it together. Now let's drop back to third place. You want to tilt your cart down after you get through this cannon ride in Donkey Kong Mountain, because you land faster, and that means you start driving faster sooner. No baby park yet. That's a really weird track. It is incredibly small, just one oval, with like 8 laps. So you end up like lapping people. It's super chaotic. I forget what command we have for us today because we're not using the bot, but there it is. It's Feasel and Mystical. Speed Gaming staff here on commentary. Super excited to be doing it. So we're seeing Psych House finish Mushroom Bridge or something. The big bridge is moving on to DK Mountain. Fireman's on Daisy Cruiser, a map where everything on the deck will slide over to one side or the other. There's a shortcut on the pool that he's not going to take. Well, would have really been punished by that blue shell if he had opted to take it, but instead of going left around the pool, you can go right. Pretty tricky, and it's a very minor time save, so I'm not surprised that players are foregoing it. We're going to see the baby park in the bottom right corner. Le Chamotte is there. Toru is on Peach Beach. Which is a fairly straightforward level. You just want to avoid the Mario Sunshine ducky things that throw you into the air. No idea what they're called. But here's Baby Park. You can see a green shell just randomly flying across. That green shell is going to be bouncing around. Le Chamotte is almost already back in the potential path of that green shell. That's how hectic this track is. But our main feature, Psych House, here on DK Mountain, has a stack of green shells ready to deal with anyone. I think that's a Bowser shell chasing him. Does manage to avoid it. We'll see how he approaches the shortcut. Does kick up way up on the wall. You keep your speed, but it takes a little longer to take the shortcut. There's a shortcut, quote unquote, in Daisy Cruiser in the top right that Fireman is not using because I think it's actually a little slower to do it. That's a first place finish for Fireman. Toru on the final lap of Peach Beach. The Chamotte was doing some of those, or trying to do some of the straightaway mini turbos. You have to be very accurate in order to actually make the straightaway mini turbos faster than just driving straight. Especially if you're not using the A tech to let go of A so that your cart doesn't kick out to the side when you initiate a slide. But it's a really complicated set of inputs involving the accelerator, the trigger, sometimes both triggers, and wiggling the stick left and right. Fireman is into Sherbert Island, maybe? Sherbert something. Ice physics on the ice. If you are doing mini turbos, especially sideways mini turbos, you can get going at some insane sideways speeds where you can barely see where you're going, skating across the ice. Toru is into a tricky section here on Mushroom Bridge. If you want to be, this is a good opportunity to be doing some straightaway mini turbos, but that has you zigzagging left and right unless you're really good at the ATEC, so you're very likely to crash into some of these cars on the bridge. So I'm not too surprised to see the Toru opt to just take it nice and straight. Our players are going to have to deal with a certain amount of lightning and blue shells and banana peels and all kinds of things. Lightning is probably the most unfair. Even blue shells, it's possible to dodge. It's really not easy. And maybe a little random, but it's possible to juke out a blue shell, even though it has a gigantic explosion in this game. But lightning is just going to hit you no matter what, and if it hits you before a jump or some other key part of the track, it can really screw you over. It also makes you drop whatever you're holding. There's a couple opportunities in a couple tracks to intentionally slow down and drop to 8th place, pick up some items, and hope for something beneficial. In Dry Desert, you can get a star or mushroom, or set of mushrooms rather, to take a shortcut over a hill. The big one is Bowser Castle. You can skip the majority of a lap in Bowser Castle. Maybe I'm overstating it a bit, but it's a really big skip, and it involves dropping down, getting a blue shell, holding onto it, racing on the first lap into first place, turning around at the finish line after you cross it, throwing the blue shell at yourself and using the explosion to damage boost far enough ahead that Lakitu puts you down in the wrong spot. Saves a huge amount of time, is hugely random, and then even if you get the blue shell, very hard to pull off as well. So I don't think we're going to be seeing it, but I had to shout out that there are some pretty wild strats that are available only on this Grand Prix mode. It will be hard to keep track of who's in the lead, unless you're looking in the top left corner where you see a little icon that says how many races that they've done so far. There are 16 in total, and it won't be until Rainbow Road where we'll truly get a sense, I think, of who's ahead, because some tracks are shorter or longer than others. The 100-point cutoff is 38-18, and I expect all our players today to get over this particular cutoff. The 200-point cutoff, which I expect none of our players to get to, is 28 minutes and 18 seconds. Likely the players are going to finish somewhere in that mark. So even though a really close finish just kind of means everyone gets kind of the same amount of points and there's not really any change on the leaderboard, it is still incredibly fun to see all the players, on the last track together, competing to see who's going to win this particular round. No bonus points or anything for being the top finisher of any given game, except pride and being able to rub it in your opponent's faces. So
well, maybe that counts for something.
It does count for at least something.
So 10 games is a long time to get through. You do need some sort of psychological boost any place you can get it. So taking first place in one of these games is gonna certainly help. But in general, yes, you're competing against yourself, competing against the timer. Only the total scores at the end of the day really matters. So that's the only time when we really care about where the players are relative to each other.
This is the GameCube Mario Kart Double Dash. You can tell because there's 2 riders on 1 cart. All the players I thought, would be using the barrel train. That's commonly accepted to be the best car. But maybe that's only by top players who are able to constantly be doing mini turbos. Maybe if you're not at that high level, maybe one of these other cars is actually the better option for you. But we are seeing quite a bit of the barrel train, both Lishamat, Toru, and Psychhouse all using it. As for your player, it doesn't matter too much. There are certain special items unique to all the different characters, but you generally don't get them when you're in first place, and generally if you're doing well, you're in first place. So the characters don't really matter. It's more about just picking someone who can ride that barrel train cart. Toru is in this pretty tricky, I'm going to call it Mushroom City, but I have no idea. Maybe it's like Toad City, but Toad Town. I don't know. But it's this this very city-like track, kind of like Toad Turnpike from Mario 64. Has a couple different paths available to the players, and of course it has this active traffic on the road that needs to be avoided. Some of the cars are literally just gigantic bombs with wheels. Torter showing off one of the alternative paths there. I don't think it's the fastest if you're playing optimally. Lishamot trying to do some of these straightaway mini turbos. The only player I think I've seen going for them. Fireman immediately checked off course by Bowser here on Waluigi Stadium. Waluigi Stadium, home to one of the Lakitu-based skips, where he puts you down in the wrong place. I think those are allowed by the rules. I don't think I saw them mentioned. It does say any other kind of cheat is strictly prohibited, but it's referring to the action replay code used to unlock the cup that they're playing on. So I'm not sure, but it is possible to jump off a ramp towards the end of the lap and have Lakitu put you down in an advantageous position. You nailed it, Klagarn. There's been an ongoing sort of league that a bunch of players have all been a part of, learning how to play these 10 games over the course of 5 months. And their progress has been tracked on a leaderboard. You earn points based off of how well you do. There's been weekly events where everyone can come out and have some fun and test themselves against each other in a live competitive format. And it's all kind of culminated in this. The top players on that leaderboard over the course of those 5 months are going to be competing this weekend. Today is our sort of semifinals, grand semifinals, I think is what we're calling it. And it's the top 11 to 24 positions on the leaderboard were invited today. Some of them couldn't make it. So we're kind of dealing with 11 to 20 here. And the top 4 today will move on to tomorrow to compete along with the top 10. And those 4 are going to be crowned our winners. And they will get to go to a live event and a 200-seat theater live in person to compete. And it's going to be a blast. So this is a lovely thing that a lot of people have been working really hard towards for kind of a long time. And it's going to come down to how well they do today and tomorrow. We can get a look at this rather chaotic view of everyone racing in all these different tracks. It is a point system. For Mario Kart, anyone who finishes at the 28-minute, 18-second mark earns 200 points. And this mark is decided roughly by what the record is, the world record. So it is very hard to get over those 200 points. Sometimes a game is chosen where the players actually together drive the time down with new strats or whatnot. And so getting over that 200-point mark is feasible. But
yes, we did see that in the first game. We saw 218 points for our first place finisher in Hammerwatch.
Yep. Extremely hard to do. That was the world record holder, actually. Was like 2 or 3 minutes off their personal best, but because that time had been driven down so far, was able to score over 200 points in that game. So don't look for that on Mario Kart. We don't have any... No one was able to get to the world record level of Mario Kart in this short amount of time, but they're pretty good. Anyone who finishes at 38 minutes and 18 seconds is going to get 100 points. And I think these players are going to be somewhere in between that 28 and 38 minute mark. So they will earn an appropriate amount of points on a linear scale for how well they do. And we're adding up the points as we go. And at the end of all 10 games, the top 4 people with the most points are going to be the ones advancing to tomorrow's event.
All right, 9 tracks down. Shamoot for Le Shamoot.
16 total in the All Cup Tour, 4 per cup. I'm pretty sure. I'm suddenly worried it might be 5, but no, I think that's only the original Mario Kart that had the 5 tracks per cup.
It's kind of scary when you see your place drop to 6, for a brief moment. Yeah, you really don't want to get counted out of one of these races. You do want to finish in the top 4.
Schmidt got a lot of air there that they probably didn't want. Losing control of the cart quite a bit on some of these slides.
So you're going faster on the ground than in the air.
Yeah. In almost all cases, you want to be touching the ground as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually influence that by holding R and pressing to the side, which is the same input for sliding. Doing that in the air will get you down faster. In some cases, there are jumps big enough that you can do it. You can influence your drop down so much that you don't actually make the jump. So you do need to be a little careful with it. Fireman is neck and neck on Mushroom Bridge, I think is the level. Very tricky level with all the traffic. And Psych House is on Dino Jungle, I think is the name of this track. And it's pretty hard. I think it's a special cup track. And there's a wooden bridge section that's kind of between the beginning / middle of the track. Psych House is about to come up on it here. That is pretty treacherous. No walls or anything. There's a shortcut available if you stay left that I don't think I've seen anyone go for because the track is incredibly narrow, and there's a zipper that speeds you up as well. Yeah, I'm not sure, Senin. As soon as Fiesel said it, and I know he said it because I told him, but I realized, wait, maybe in this one, maybe it lets you keep going. You just get the 0 points. Because look, the number of points you get does go all the way down to 8th place. Like 7th place still gets a point. So I think it wouldn't. I think it's less punishing in this one.
Okay. Well, now I gotta look this up.
Like I said, I always came in first when I played this game. I wouldn't know. That's not true. But I would always drive, and my sister would always do the items. I wonder if anyone's ever done a co-op race of this. And I wonder if having someone dedicated to like wiggling their hands on the stick, if they could like charge up mini turbos super fast, and it would actually make a big difference. Oh, Lachemont didn't quite make the jump there. Very tricky to clear that gap without a boost of some kind. It's especially tricky because you want to be sliding so that you can smoothly take the turn after you land. But I think that makes it harder to clear the gap if you're doing that. Unless you have a well-timed mini turbo. And Psych House literally just hitting the brakes there. I wonder if hands slipped off the controller or something. I doubt they were going for some kind of strat where you intentionally drop down to pick up a powerful item. If that was what they were going for, they're only going to get red shells. And a star. That's good news. That's great news. If intentional, it just worked out. Gonna blast right through that truck, no problem. Fireman's in Dry Desert. This is one of the maps where, the tracks rather, I guess is the term, where you can it does work out that you can intentionally drop down to 8th place to hope for something like a star or a set of mushrooms, and you can use it to boost over a hill. Wow, the 2nd place working out pretty well there, dodging the blue shell. Calculated. Psychouse has got a set of mushrooms. Can probably overtake 3rd here before the end. Oh, the truck gets both of them. Oh, there's another lap still. Get ahead of myself when I'm jumping back and forth between the players. Fireman's done with Dry Desert. Toru is on Yoshi Circuit or something. Getting pummeled repeatedly by shells and is now dropped down to 3rd place. Not too big a concern. I think everyone's consistently good enough that they're not going to be too worried about. Well, I guess it's not really part of the goal to win 1st place at the end. I think you just need to finish. Oh, and the music is kicking in with Rainbow Road. My 2nd favorite Rainbow Road track. Music track, that is. Maybe my actual favorite Rainbow Road track, though, course to drive on. The Shimad, I think, has been the one I've been most impressed with, is doing these mini turbos very quickly, is fitting them in on as many turns as possible. Yeah, see, going for some of these straightaways, not using ATEC, so they're sliding, kicking out way out to the sides on each of those turbos. Not sure if Lishamad is doing it well enough to make... No, this is definitely faster than just driving straight. That was really clean there for that last little sequence of mini turbos. What 64 has the best Rainbow Road track? Let's be real. But I'm totally blinded by nostalgia. They say that the best Mario Kart is the one you played first. A wise man once said. And I believe it. But I don't know. Maybe the one where you can play as Link is maybe the best one. I don't know. That's pretty cool. They're doing cool things with Mario Kart nowadays.
Nearing the 30-minute mark. 16 tracks to be done. And we're on track 12. Our frontmost player, I don't know what the term is.
Front runner? Leader?
Front runner. That's the word. Front runner is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lishamot just behind them. And keep in mind, some tracks are shorter and longer than others. So even if someone's done 13, someone's done 12, it's possible that they're closer or further apart than it appears.
That's right. We aren't able to regulate the order of these tracks.
The cutoff's going to be 38 minutes. So I think everyone's going to be pretty well under.
Should be fine, although we are over the 200-point mark. Correct.
Yeah, as expected. No one secretly took the world record of Mario Kart overnight and then was able to replicate it again today.
Yeah.
So I think just the best driving I've seen so far, I would say, was Le Chamat. I said as he gets lightninged off course on the ice. Nice combo. I've seen some really mean things happen to Le Chamat, actually, in terms of randomness. So I was going to try to explain why Psychouse appears at least to be ahead of Le Chamat, despite I think Le Chamat having better control of the kart, especially with these mini turbos. But maybe it's just our good old friend RNG is the culprit. Look at the way you move when you mini turbo on the ice. You really get the speed going. Fantastic to see. Holding on to that slide because Le Chamot knows he needs to drift further to the right before letting it go. The thing about trying to use these mini turbos, though, is if you can get yourself into trouble getting a little overzealous with them. Sometimes it's better to just take the cleanest driving line than it is to squeeze in a turbo. So we got Daisy Cruiser up next for Le Chamot. I think it's not a lengthy track. Unsure where Fireman and Toru are at. I mean, I know where they are in game. They're in Baby Park and Dino Dino Jungle, respectively. But I'm not sure which of their 16 races they're at. Oh, I can get a sense of it based off the points, though. That was probably the 12th track for Toru, and is moving on to... Nope, 14. There it is. So not too far behind as well. Sherbertland is a very short track, so Toru is looking really well. Really good. Doing really well. We're seeing this spiral here in Wario Stadium on Psych House in the bottom right. I guess it was a little while ago, but that spiral is one of the turns that is so sharp that you're better off, rather than trying to do mini turbos, you're better off just holding the inside line as best as you can. And it turns out there's a technique for turning even more sharply than normal by tapping the shoulder button, which is used to initiate a slide. There's two very similar things. One is to simply tap the shoulder button, and the other is to tap it while holding the other. And I think not holding it is a little faster, but a little harder to execute.
So that's particularly... Go ahead.
Just about to cross the finish line on Daisy Cruiser. That is 15 tracks down for Le Chamot.
One more. And I believe Psych House will be there in just a moment as well, right? And it's very important for Psych House to do well in this. Psych House is in 6th place so far on this leaderboard. Remember, the cutoff is at 4, the top 4 people. So Psych House has quite a lot of ground to make up here. Le Chamot, on the other hand, is in 3rd place, so can even afford to drop back a place and still be in it. So a much safer position, but Psych House really needs to get ahead of Toru, which I believe is going to happen, and also needs to be ahead of Little Mai, who we don't see on stream, presumably because of some stream troubles, I would guess. Otherwise, you would expect Little Mai to be up here. Those two, Toru and Little Mai, are tied right now, right there on 4th and 5th place, right there on the line, so especially important.
So the indicator on the top left is what track they're on, not what how many they've completed.
Oh, it is? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, because 16 should be Rainbow Road.
So one more after this. Yes, 16.
Psychos just barely crosses the goal of Wario Stadium before that blue shell comes in. I did see Psychos using the at least either the L-Tech or the R-Tech on that spiral. You could tell because the sparks were, 1, not changing color, but 2, kind of pulsing, which happens every time you press the button.
Yeah, we are getting kind of close to the cutoff here. We were expecting that a lot of these players would finish and not get timed out, but I'm not so sure about that anymore.
I've definitely seen some pretty big mishaps RNG wise, I mean, it's going to happen. You can't race on 16 whole tracks of a Mario Kart game and expect not to get blue shelled or lightning or anything. But I've seen some pretty nasty stuff happen to some of these players, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're not quite matching their the personal best that they put up on the leaderboard.
So since it's in game time, it's not going to cut off when the timer that we see here meets 38:18, but it won't be too much longer after that. Yeah, maybe maybe we will see at least the people we have on screen finish.
And I can't believe I didn't notice this, but you can see the number of points they will earn on the timer in the middle. The time is there, and then the big number above is how many points are up for grabs as of this moment. So there is the 15th first place finish for La Chamotte, going to be the first one moving on to Rainbow Road.
Okay. Oh, so we're seeing it's 44:34 is approximately what the real time would be for the cutoff. Okay. So yeah, we have plenty of time, and we will see once it finishes.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see some pretty good times/points awarded. We saw there was 77 up for grabs right about, and now we see it's down to 70 for La Chamotte. Rainbow Road's a long track, so that is going to tick down quite a bit over the course. Oh yeah, bring up the music again. And here's this devilish spiral with all these boosts, and you want to